Welcome, everyone, to the Islanders Never Say Die podcast. I'm your host, TJ, and with me here, as always, is our NHL analyst and expert, the grumpy old man. They say there's no shame to his game because he's always the same.
That's me.
And with us here, too, special guest to the show, Brandon Gaines, talking a little New York Islanders off-season action, talking a little bit of the season regarding the New York Islanders this year. How are you, Brandon?
Oh man, I'm still on cloud nine right now. I don't know if any of you know, but I am over the past 4 weeks I've officially become a fiance. So very, very, very happy still. No amount of
Look at that, Grumpy. Did I get it right that time to get the little cheer?
No amount of Islanders 4 week silence could upset me by any stretch of the imagination, but it's on cloud nine still on cloud nine. I know as we go on through the episode, I'm probably gonna get upset and angry, but who cares?
So why are you on cloud nine? Because you couldn't believe she said yes, or how did that work?
Oh no! She said yes, and she didn't see it coming either. She genuinely did not see it coming. I teased her that I was going to propose to her this year, but I didn't tell her when. And ironically, it was on our 5-year anniversary. So wanted to make it
romantic. What a romantic.
Want to make it a full circle moment. I also did it on the same area where I first asked her out. So want to really wrap it up in terms of making a full circle moment. So we're not setting any wedding dates yet. We want to at least enjoy the 1 to 2 month engagement honeymoon. Save up, obviously, because weddings are expensive. But yeah. So on that happy note, I'm happy to be on this show. Yeah. And I've seen we've also started on 8 o'clock TJ time, which is perfect.
There it is. I was about to say.
Why are we late today? Why are we late today, TJ?
We're just late, Grumpy. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes it happens, Grumpy. But, I was about to tell Brandon, I said, you got to make sure to be careful. You probably want to schedule out your wedding probably to like mid-June, if not July, because next year with the Islanders' deep playoff push, you don't want to have to be the possibility of the wedding going on the same time as us in the Stanley Cup Finals. You got to make sure you give yourself a little bit of that buffer zone there, Brandon.
Well, actually, during June, that's peak time. So weddings will actually be more expensive around that time. So want to stay away from between May to early January. I've spoken to a few people about this. That's when weddings are like at least up 1.5 times the normal prices, like an off-peak wedding. So want to stay away from that range.
There it is for all those wedding shoppers out there. Hopefully you've picked up a few tidbits along the way. But for those of you who are new to the channel, welcome. This is a twice a week all New York Islanders podcast that takes place every single Wednesday and Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you're new to the channel, we encourage you to do a few things. We encourage you to subscribe on YouTube, to like on Facebook, and also to follow on Twitter to make sure you don't miss out on any of the Islanders action. And also, if you like the video, make sure you leave a thumbs up because, number one, apparently that helps the algorithm. And as Grumpy says, make sure you write 5-star review in the comment section below. I see some people doing that, and I always find fun. I always get a smile anytime I roll across an update that somebody wrote 5-star review in the comment section. So we really do appreciate that, guys. Absolutely. And for those of you who are also unaware, we have a secondary podcast that is an absolute must listen called TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. It's a twice a week all sports podcast where myself, Grumpy, and the magnificent Son X, we talk anything and everything sports. We talk NHL, NBA, MLB, NFL, did I mention MLB? Yeah, sure I did. College athletics, world football. We talk about anything and everything sports on that show. So you want to make sure you give that a listen, especially when we get to the dog days of summer when Islanders news continues to dry up every single week.
Continues to dry up. Okay.
Continues.
Hard to believe, right? Can we get even less news than we have now about the Islanders? Maybe, guys, just maybe. But make sure you give a listen to TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. It's in the link in the description below and as a featured page here on YouTube. Again, twice a week, all sports podcast, Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and on Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can find TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. And also, Brandon, I know you do a lot of Twitter space and everything of that nature, but for those people who, let's say they run across Brandon today and they said, I want to listen to Brandon more often. I want to listen to him more frequently. Where's the best way to find you, Brandon?
My Twitter handle over there at BGainsDM, or because I know you had Mike on here last episode, you can find us on our podcast, Another Fucking Islanders podcast, hosted by
Mike. Wait a minute. You're affiliated with him?
Yeah.
And there it is, Grumpy. There it is. You can find him here. We got Brandon. Look at the great moment there. You can find him here on his Twitter page, Grumpy Old Man, right here.
Scroll. No, go up.
Up higher or down?
No, down. Go down.
Damn, you know what, Grumpy? I hate you.
Oh my goodness!
Do not understand.
She's
say
like,
scroll up.
No.
She actually was like that originally. She was like she had like so much emotion. She threatened to semi-run away because she didn't know how to respond. And she's like, "Oh my God, I hate you. I hate you right now. I hate you."
I believe that.
Hey, listen. Who better than to propose to someone who's tolerated me for at least 5 years? So I'll take it.
There it is. There it is. Congratulations are in order, Brandon. Absolutely. But yes, I am associated with Mike, the Devontae's mourner, also the Islanders attorney Eric Vogel, and the eternal optimist John Dabrowski, with myself, the Islanders human Wikipedia, called Another Fucking Islanders podcast. We're actually going to be doing an episode actually next week to talk about the draft. I know the Islanders don't have time
with that.
You never know what could happen, but we're going to speculate who could fall later in the first round, later in the second round. We're going to give our speculation as to see what happens. We'll play a few games. I'll ask, obviously, the trivia question that no one answers, and they hate me for it. It's going to be a fun time.
I want to know the trivia question now. I want to see if Grumpy and I can get it. And for everybody else who listens to both, you might have a little bit of an advantage because you know the answer after Brandon releases it. What type of trivia questions do you have?
Well, the recent one I asked, I didn't come up with it yet, but the one for next episode. But the one I asked last time was, okay, Anders Lee scored the last regular season finale goal against the Montreal Canadiens. But what team did he score his first career goal against?
I'll say the Montreal Canadiens as well.
I'm going to say Philadelphia Flyers.
It was the Winnipeg Jets in 2013.
Okay, the Winnipeg Jets in 2013.
And Mike surprisingly got it right on the first try. And he had the advantage because he went to the game. So
I tell you, we flipped back to yesteryear. That was back during the kid line time period when Brock Nelson, Ryan Strome, and freaking Anders Lee was aligned together. Holy shit, they were called the kid line. Oh, I'm starting to feel old now. Whew.
you're telling me. Doesn't I ain't feeling any younger at 31.
Now
No
they're
way.
the totally finished line.
Yeah.
Oh man. But
Well, no, let's the good, the bad, and the ugly. That's what they are now.
Sure. Yeah.
The good would be Brock Nelson. The bad would be Ryan Strome, and the absolutely ugly is Andrew.
There it is. There it is. We are now entering week 5 of the Islanders hostage situation. It's been over a full 4 weeks. The Islanders have not said or addressed any sort of postseason conversation to the fans, to the press, keeping us all in the dark. We see once again another week, no update from our New York Islanders. Grumpy, I'll have your response here first, and I want to hear what Brandon's got to say. Grumpy, now we're on almost week 5. How long do you think this is going to last?
July.
You don't think they're going to say anything before the draft?
They're not going to say anything at the draft. They don't have a first-round draft pick. They don't interview anybody on the second day, so it won't be that day. It'll probably be, like I said, free agency. We won't do anything there. So I'm going to say probably the tail end of July, August, maybe even September. Training camp.
Wow.
Why not? Hey, it's just as good as date as anything else, honestly, right?
The more I doubt you when you say stuff like that, it almost sounds outlandish, but it's crazy. In the history we've had this show of the 5+ years, that nonsense of what I think is I immediately have a nonsense like initial reaction, like there's no way it's going to take them that long to address the press. So sure enough, they're often right more than they're wrong, which is the odd part about it.
It's funny because I was thinking today I was going to do something. When did free agency actually start? And then who's the best free agent we've ever signed? But I decided I didn't do it. I got distracted, so I didn't do it. I probably knew I was going to have to wake up TJ from a nap to start the show. So I wanted to make sure that I was prepared for that.
1995, I believe, is when free agency started.
Okay. So you're talking 28 years. Who's the best free agent we ever signed? Andrew Ladd. It's Andrew Ladd.
Probably the worst free agent signing they've ever done.
At the time, he was the best player.
Yeah, it's like damning with fake praise, though. I mean, you had him, Okposo, and Louis Eriksson. They all stunk.
Yeah, but who did
Lucic?
Who you think? Who you saying?
No, maybe Milan Lucic. Maybe he was by default.
But we didn't sign him.
Oh no, I'm saying like overall the best free agent of that class. But yeah.
I don't know. But I was thinking, who is now? There's a trivia question for you. It's a little objective, but who is the best Islander free agent signing ever?
I still go with Ladd.
Okay, or
Hudson Fashion
was expected to do the most.
Oh, Ladd by default. Yeah.
I mean,
Ladd.
I can't. I mean, you're talking because what my whole point to that was, is any big name free agent going to come here this offseason? That's a question I'll pose to both of you. Is a big, everyone's, oh, what about Orlov or this defenseman or that defenseman? Historically, I don't see that happening, but I'm interested in your guys' opinion on that.
Well, before you do that, Grumpy, I want to ask what Brandon's. Okay, we'll talk about that. But Brandon, I want to hear what your thoughts are. 5 weeks, no response from the organization.
I think you'll probably have something before the draft, unless like any significant transaction happens. Because, I mean, I believe he did address the media a little before the playoffs began. So, like, unless like anything new of any significance comes out, I mean, yeah, we had the Islanders announce the Hudson Fashion contract, ironically on the 5-year anniversary on my part. But other than that, like, there's nothing. There's no significant transactions taking place. So compared to the end of the season, end of the regular season, conference that Lou had. Maybe it was like 2 weeks before him. Versus now, like nothing new has happened so far. So unless something new happens, I don't see really anything that he could say. It's like beating a dead horse, really. I'm not saying this regarding just like Lou. It's like with any team. Like if nothing of any significance happens, really, what are you going to talk about? You're just wasting reporters' times.
I think maybe he could talk about, hey, I've signed an extension, or no, I haven't, or hey, our head coach that was apparently on a 1-year contract, we've signed him to an extension, or I assume we have, because if we hadn't,
it's not official though.
We would have gone ahead and probably been shopping for another head coach, right? You see, Nashville's Barry Trotz picks up Andrew Brunette to be their NHL head coach.
Good hire.
A few head coaches kind of go off the list, and I figure, right, the likelihood of Lane being gone is almost non-existent, because it gives them no benefit not to announce that and start looking for a new head coach. So, yeah, I don't know. The big news for me, I guess, would be, is Lou Lamoriello back at the age of 81 to start the season? Are we going to have an 81 general manager, the oldest GM in the history of the NHL?
He was that last year and the year before too.
Correct.
And the year before that as well.
He's been like that for a few years, but maybe we just want to keep, we're just a trailblazer. Our organization just wants to keep doing it over and over again.
I will say that most teams, when the season ends, they come out and say something to the fan base. In the past, Lamoriello was, when we lost at the end of the season last year, he came out and he said, we believe in this core, blah, 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 yada, yada, saying whatever he says. This year, nothing. The last time he spoke to the press was when he was pumping Fredo's tires about the Hunter Fasching signing. And when was
Hudson Fasching, Grumpy.
Yeah, okay, I forget. Mr. Fasching. When they're pumping Fredo's tires and being able to find that player. And that wasn't it like the tail end of
trade
March?
deadline? That was during the trade deadline, or right after the trade deadline.
That's the last we've heard from him.
Yep. He said something around mid-April though as well regarding Matt Barzell's health though. He did say something around like mid-April, I believe.
Skating?
Yeah, that he was skating. Like that was the last time you heard from him. But so between then, which is mid-April, I believe, to now, all you've had was the Hudson Fasching contract announcement. That's all we've had. So I would probably say Lou and Lane are coming back. I don't like the chances for one of the two assistant coaches, though.
Like, for example, let's say even we bring in a new assistant coach, or we're looking for a new assistant coach. I mean, like, that's news. This is like, we've had this discussion, Grumpy and I, before the offseason kind of kicked off, was what type of good does it do for an organization where the fans, I would say the overwhelming portion of fans probably are disappointed this season with what occurred. I think there are fans who are happy, and I think Mike was happy with the performance during the regular season, not with the postseason. I don't know. He's the only crazy guy I've ever heard who had that type of thought, but I'm sure there are other fans out there like that too. But I'm going to say most fans probably unsatisfied with this year. And if you're unsatisfied, I think not addressing the unsatisfaction for the fan base, I think, could only lead to, I don't know, things starting to fester, perhaps.
I'd use the word dissatisfied.
Sure.
I mean, I think anytime like you're not like in a rebuild phase and you want to contend, and if you don't win a cup, you should be dissatisfied no matter what, whether you're in first place, 8th place in the playoffs, whatever. If you don't win a cup, you should be dissatisfied. You should be pissed. But again, that's kind of just repeating the same, we believe in this core, cup or bust scenario. So I think the fact that there's such a large gap from when Lou spoke to the media around like addressing Barzell skating versus now, for me, shows that there are some potential long-term changes coming for the team. There's speculation that, there could be Lou maybe could sign a similar deal that he signed initially with Toronto, where you be the GM for 2 more years, but you transition to a different role while someone succeeds you. Because that's what the contract that he signed with Toronto originally. He was to be the GM for 3 years, and he was supposed to move to senior advisor. That was negotiated. So if Lou does come back, I mean, at the age of 81, I don't see why he wouldn't sign a similar deal, because the team, and you saw it this past offseason, like the way the ideology, the players that they drafted compared to the previous years, there's a change of ideology. And I think that they want to position Lou's successor properly.
But like for that, right? If you were going to say, "Hey, we're going to be bringing somebody else into the mix, or bringing somebody in to start grooming them," I don't
Just
think
not Fredo.
I don't think it does them any benefit not to announce that. You know what I mean? It's like we've talked about before. Like you could maybe make an argument in the years past. Well, the reason we're not announcing this free agent or that free agent is because we want to keep other teams guessing what the Magic fan Lou's doing.
That was funny. I remember that. That was hilarious.
You realize that's so stupid to think that. Agents know. The teams talk. Every team knows who's
Players
signed.
talk.
It's
Players talk. Yeah.
It's if somebody is signed, even if they don't announce it, they know they've signed there already.
Zach Parise, don't let anybody know you're going to be a New York Islander. Don't tell anybody.
But here's
keep it on the down low.
Agents talk to one another. Players talk to one another. Sure. Teams, if they, hey, let's reach out to Zach Parise. Hey, we're interested in your client. He's well,
I can't pick up your phone right now. Sorry. Leave me a message and maybe I can call you back at the end of July.
It's like, come on. The people inside the bubble all know.
Yes.
It's just to think that they don't is just, come on. Really? That's why I hate the mainstream media. You know, I hate them because they try to push the narrative that Lou Lamoriello is so secretive. No one bullshit. Everybody knows that, you know, everyone knows. What do you think these rumors come from? You hear, and you think Elliot Freeman is the only guy that people talk to? You don't think before they talk to Freeman that they're talking to their buddies or they're talking to other people in the organization? I mean, come on.
And a lot of times when these players train in the offseason, this is for all sports, not just hockey, they train with other professionals. So they have their training partners and buddies, and to think like, hey, I'm training with Zach Parise here for these next few weeks until I'm headed there on vacation or I'm headed to XYZ spot. You don't think it comes up in conversation of where we are, what I'm doing. Hey, are you still trying to make it in the league? You signed anywhere yet? Like stuff like that gets passed around. I've never believed, and I think that's a good point, Grumpy. Like I think that it gets a little bit overblown. How he's just so secretive, and that's keeping everything in benefit. I seriously don't understand, though, the reason not to address the public. I mean, this is the paying public. I feel like if you could you're not going to enthuse the fan base, right? You got to go in there with a realistic expectation. But if you come in saying, we have work that needs to be done on a roster, these are the type of things we want to address, I think you can win certain sections of the fan base back to believing in Lou Lamoriello very easily just by even coming out and speaking to them.
Sure. But my thing is, so like with the idea that Lou may potentially sign a contract that guarantees him moving to a different position after year 2 of his next deal, what if that other staff member isn't available to talk to yet? You know, what if I'm just being hypothetical here. I don't know if this is happening, but the fact that it's taken this long for an announcement of any kind by the Islanders management brass show that there's some awareness that there has to be a change. Whether or not they go after somebody from Florida, whether or not they bring back George McPhee, you know, the Islander fan base, myself included, we don't know yet. And the fact that this has been going on for 5 weeks shows that they want to potentially change something, but they can't announce it yet. That's the problem. They can't.
Honestly, that was our way of thinking as well. We heard some rumblings and it made sense. And then Andrew Gross comes out and says, Lou and Lane are going to be back.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, I kind of trust what he's saying. We heard, like I said, certain things we're not at liberty to discuss, but we all thought the same way that you do. And then we get, that tweet from Andrew Gross and it's like, oh my God. I'd feel much better about the team, honestly, if Lamoriello was gone. Much, much more positive.
Well, they don't want to. I don't think it would make sense to to can a general manager without a definitive replacement that has some familiarity within your organization. But with that being said, I don't think it's going to be Fredo. I don't think it's going to be Chris. That's the thing. So like you can't like I agree with you. They do need a long-term managerial change because Lou ain't getting any younger. He's in his 80s. He's the oldest freaking GM I've ever seen in my lifetime. You know, you got to obviously make changes there. But if you're obviously not going to promote Chris from within because he's had his chances, whether or not it's been with New Jersey or the Islanders pre-Lou, because he got hired before Lou. You know, if you're not going to promote Chris, and you're probably not going to promote Steve Pellegrini from within, who handles the money, by the way, you know, they're most likely going to have to look at someone outside. And I just hope for the life of me, it's not Kyle Dubas.
Now, and like, I will say this, I wish we go Mr. Outside Hire. I don't think
they could. We genuinely don't know. We really don't, because this is the first time that Lou hasn't said anything, or any coach for the Islanders in the past 5 years has said anything after their postseason or regular season for that matter. It's never happened in the past 5 years.
Every team who's been eliminated from the playoffs has talked to their fan base.
And the Islanders have it.
And they do it every single year.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. I mean, how were these guys able to sell season tickets? We're like, our team wasn't good enough last year. What direction are we going? Those are questions I want to ask for. I pump my money down.
Hey, what makes you think that we're going to address this, and this? I haven't heard anything from your general manager or head coach or organization.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know. We mentioned last year was a really tough job to be a season tickets rep. I'm sure it
ain't getting any easier.
Hard times are ahead for that position. Hey, if you could survive as a season ticket rep for the New York Islanders, you can make it anywhere as a season ticket rep. That's for certain. At least the other teams are going to give you the direction that they want to head in. The Islanders, they won't even address that, so you don't know what direction they're going to be heading in.
Like I said, I'm just speculating. They could be potentially looking for someone from Florida or Vegas. And if you get George McPhee, who has had success as a GM in the past, to succeed Lou, because he ain't that old, then I could understand that, because he hasn't been the GM, I believe, since 2019, because Kelly McCrimmon got promoted from within and McPhee got moved up to president. So he has familiarity with the organization. He knows a good amount of the players because he got hired in 2015 initially before becoming Vegas's GM. So he's not old. He's got familiarity with the organization. He's currently working for a team who's in the Cup final right now. He's clean shaven, so that fits the bill already. I know. I was just trying to get a reaction from TJ. I know it doesn't matter, but still, like, I don't think if you're gonna succeed Lou, I don't think it's from anybody from within the organization who could do it.
Well, and again, that's why I'm saying no one has leaked anything.
No one.
I remember when Lamoriello was coming over from Toronto, people were talking about it, not mid-season, but certainly a month before the season ended.
Yep.
We were hearing that, as soon as a new ownership comes in, they're going to go after Lamoriello is going to the Islanders. We heard that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how something like that doesn't get out. Or, I mean, to anybody, like not even Friedman saying, hey, don't be surprised if, something like that.
I heard the Islanders are possibly looking for blank. I heard the Islanders are shopping around. The Islanders are looking maybe at a new general manager.
Or George McPhee could be looking to leave Vegas at the end of this year to look for other challenges. Nothing.
We haven't even heard that. Yes, that's what
I mean, see, it's like, okay, nothing. I just wish ownership or the GM or whoever would just come out and just say something to the fan base, just to, hey, we know you're there. Thank you for your support. Yes, we didn't achieve our end game goal. We feel happy about the direction, blah, 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 whatever.
Typical GM speak.
Something.
Yeah.
Not nothing, something. Yes, we don't have a first round draft pick, but we do have a second round draft pick. It's a really deep draft. We expect to get a really good player. Something like that. Nothing. It's been almost 2 months.
Yep.
Or a month and a half. I just like, I don't understand it. I mean, think about how long ago we got knocked out of the playoffs. It was like the end of April.
Yep.
It's like, I don't
Frustrating. Frustrating, I think, is what it is. Islander fans, it's like we're looking, and I asked the question, like, oh, do you maybe think they're trying to let things die down a bit, let the anger die down? Maybe that's what they're doing.
Nah.
No,
I don't think it's anger. I think it's just more disappointment, if anything.
let the disappointment fade away.
Yeah.
No.
You
You tried to push that narrative 2 weeks ago. I shot you down. Then I'm going to shoot you down again.
How about now, Grumpy? Can we shoot it one more time?
Yeah. Double tap. Zombie Land Part 2. Double tap.
Yeah. So it's, I don't know. We're in I don't know, some sort of information, some sort of guide, some sort of way forward or thought process that the team would be appreciated, I think, by the fan base. Would be appreciated by myself.
Expectations for Oliver Wahlstrom next year.
Hey, has he been out golfing on Montauk recently? Has he been healthy? I mean, what's going on? I mean, like, hey, I don't know. Is he out there with Noah Dobson? Who knows?
Well, they already spoke about that, though. They already said Wahlstrom's going to be ready for training camp next year. They already, Lou said that during April. He did.
Yeah, and again, like there are other people too, where it's like I'm just using him as an example.
Oh, okay.
It's like I'm even addressing like, hey, there are guys we have to feel like we want to bring back as a part of this team, shit like that. I'm just ready for some sort of information.
We're expecting Casper Holmstrom to be a first team member next year.
We liked what we saw out of him. These are places where he can build, and he's a guy that we feel could put a lot of work in this offseason and be a key contributor to our team and an integral part of our success. Shit like that. That's what I want to hear. And like, even if it's bullshit, I at least want to hear something. And then I could say, well, that's bullshit. And I could find the little nuggets of truth along the way.
Well, do you want to know why I want to hear it? Because this is why you can throw it back in their faces when it doesn't come true.
Oh, is that what it is for, Grandpa?
Stanley Cup or bust.
Oh, goodness.
2 years ago, Stanley Cup or bust. Did nothing to make the team better. You bust out. Snake eyes.
Snake eyes. Jesus Christ, Grumpy. So yeah, it's an odd one. I mean, like we won't spend too much more time discussing that, but it's something that still kind of rattles my brain. I don't understand why they're doing it, but
I just
all we can do is believe and trust, right? And you know, in years past, we said, "Oh, well, they're being quiet because they have this great move and that great move planned." It never ever comes to fruition. I just hope we're not wrong about this.
There has to be some sort of succession plan. There has to be, because they're not. I don't think they're promoting Chris or Steve Pellegrini. They're not going to do that. No way. They've been career assistant GMs for nearly 2 decades. I don't think they're going to suddenly say, "Hey, you're promoted to GM. Good luck." I just don't see that. I genuinely don't see that. Like if they promote Chris from within, I think fans. I genuinely think fans will start, like, not all fans, because you'll still have the diehards, but the casual fan base who is, or maybe fans who like 10 years per se, they'll boycott. They will boycott. If Chris gets promoted from within to GM, fans will boycott. Absolutely. Because they're like, hey, you see the garbage that's going on at Bridgeport? Hey, Islanders major team, have some of that too. Like, no. Fans will not.
They made the playoffs 1 year under Fredo. Yeah,
1 year. That was when that was like during a play-in though scenario. That wasn't like tradition. That wasn't traditional format. So under traditional format, they would have missed.
True.
Yeah. So it's one that definitely leaves us scratching our heads, a little bit looking for answers. But I do want to talk a little bit about what you thought of the season as a whole, right? I want to hear, was this season's success? Was it failure, and reasonings for that?
Well, okay, if we want to tackle down the entire season in a vacuum, playoffs included, of course it's a failure because they didn't win the Stanley Cup. I mean, if any team who's in the playoffs doesn't win a Stanley Cup, who's obviously been to a dance before, not like the Devils this year, if you don't win a cup, it's a failure essentially. That's just the way it is. But there were some like individual success stories from the players. from some players, not all of them. But from the coaching staff, there was more bad than good from the assistants. But I give Lane some credit, though. I would still obviously take Laviolette over Lane Lambert because he's my favorite coach growing up.
Oh.
So I listen, I'm a huge Lavi fan. I'm still pissed that Milbury fired him, but here's what it is.
He hired
But
him too, though.
yeah, and then he fired him. And then he got questioned by Mike and the Mad Dog. And when the Mad Dog goes, Mike, how are you still a GM? Because honestly, you have not done a good job. Like I love that. It was a whole 24-minute skit, and he literally just goes right after Milbury during his entire tenure, hiring and firing 7 coaches, including himself. Oh, that was fantastic. But obviously, if it came down between Lane and Lavi, I would take Laviolette over Lane. Although I don't know why the Rangers aren't taking Laviolette right now either, but that's a different story. Apparently, they're talking to John Hines too. I don't know why, but I think the awareness that Lane had mid-season to say, hey, run and gun ain't really working. It doesn't work for at least 90% of the current playoff teams. You know, we need to at least have some sort of consistency and structure. Not saying you play nothing but quote unquote Trotz hockey, but you have to have some accountability in your own end. And the team showed that weirdly when Matt Barzal went down, with whether it was an MCL, meniscus, or whatever. You know, surprisingly, the Islanders were playing their best hockey without him and without Pajot for at least a month. So for Lane to recognize the deficiencies that, hey, run and gun ain't going to work with the bulk of this forward group, and he had the awareness to change that, that's promising. You know, I would hope that there's some more adaptation as his coaching career goes on, but that I would give semi-success, if that makes sense.
Okay. And let me ask you regarding
we spoke to that also. We thought that the fact that he was not afraid to change is a positive in his way of thinking. Now, my whole thing is I don't think you can play that style of hockey like we played at the tail end against the weaker teams in the league. I don't think you can play that for 82 games.
No, you have to mix it up. Absolutely.
Right. And I just don't know if with this cast of characters that we have out on the ice, if they can do that. They're just older, particularly in the forward group. I mean, everyone talks, well, our defense was not great last year, and it wasn't great, not compared to previous years. But a lot of that also had to do with our forwards not coming back and helping.
Yeah.
In my opinion, that's what it came down to. And as the guys get older, it's tougher to go, 200 foot, 200 foot, 200 foot, 200 foot, because you just don't have that. You just don't have the juice in your legs anymore. And until we transition to younger players, I think that could still be an issue going forward.
If you move away, and you don't have to do it all in one setting, but if you move away move away 1 or 2 players whose skating is vastly declining for players who at bare minimum are good skaters, that would complement the system a bit more, because you have players who could come back and potentially cover and negate potential odd man rushes. That's why, like, when their defense was more mobile, it's not as mobile. Our defense now isn't as mobile as it was during 2019 to 2021. But with the mobility of the defense, they were able to negate a lot of odd man rushes. Like they were giving up like 3 odd man rushes every game playing run and gun. And then they had to change the system. It's like, hey, you know what? We're tired of these 2-on-1s. We're hanging Sorokin here to dry on these 2-on-1s. He's going to get assaulted basically by every single chance that the opposition is getting. We got to change this. And, credit to Lane for awareness to change that. Credit to him for doing that. And also, side nugget, credit to him not freaking using Josh Bailey as a 6th attacker.
I feel like he did it every once in a while, but nowhere near as frequently as
Trotz did it every game.
Yeah.
Completely unnecessary.
When Trotz was coach, Bailey was never out of the lineup, ever.
No. I mean, Bailey is out of the lineup for 3 games, technically, but then Barzal gets hurt, Bailey comes back, Barzal comes back, and then Bailey stays in the lineup. I was like, dude, like, what are you doing? He's clearly declining. Stop playing him in the top 6, man. Like, what are you doing? Oh, but he's got his 2 ECF appearances. Like, I don't care. adapt. What have you done for me lately? Yeah, you keep playing Josh Bailey in the top 6. You keep using him as the extra attacker. Like, that doesn't matter.
Actually,
You're only as good as your current year.
It should be, what have you done for me ever?
Well, he's got he has the 1 cup. Let's be fair here. He does. We could say that Cap's team was loaded.
Oh, no,
he does have the 1 cup.
I was talking
about Trotz.
I was talking about Bailey. What have you done for us ever?
Yeah.
I agree. What have you done for us ever? So,
yeah.
Oh man, it's one of those to where I think there are nuggets to look at regarding positivity. I do think that Lane has taken a lot of heat this year. I think there's certain things he does that are questionable, like lineups, who he rolls out there.
He has earned it occasionally, though. He has earned that heat sometimes. He has. Rookie or not, there are some blatant decisions that even freaking Stevie Wonder could look at and say, okay, this sucks.
Won't let the Stevie Wonder look at.
Yes.
So, it's that type of stuff there is, again, like when you deserve criticism, you should get it. There's no doubt about that. But I think he has shown that he wanted to incorporate a little bit of the current NHL style, but it's just with the current team can't be done. I don't believe. Now, where else did you see positives this year? Because I mean, the negatives, right? Overwhelming. We've seen negatives pretty much across the board. But I feel like when I look at positive or glimpses of positivity, I think with Sorokin, I think there's no doubt that he is a fantastic netminder. That he's year in year out going to be top 5 goalie every single year. Rain, sleet, or snow.
Well, okay, then that's the good. Sorokin's the good. Brock Nelson is another part of the good from an offensive standpoint. Defensively, he's not the same as he was 3 years ago, but the goals that he's putting up still make him a net positive second line center on the team. Another positive, obviously it's a bottom 6 forward, so whatever. Hudson Fasching, that's another surprisingly weird acquisition that paid off. I don't know how, Buffalo and LA missed on that, but whatever, I guess. And I don't know. It's just a positive that I'm seeing. Again, I'm not saying Lou deserves a Jim Gregory award again. He doesn't. But it's the fact that you come out and say, hey, you believe in the core, but then you don't believe in the core when you move away Barzell's best friend to get Bo Horvat. It's like, hey, there's no guaranteed attachment that I have to any of you. If you stink, or if I view you expendable, and if I see an upgrade potentially available, I'm moving you. I don't care. Beauvillier and Ratu were signed and drafted respectively less than 2 years at the time of that trade. Fans, in my opinion, I'm not saying you two have this mentality. They think that Lou has this blind loyalty to all these players. And I'm like, what loyalty? Like, what guaranteed loyalty? The dude literally moved the Maple Leafs captain in his second year of a 7-year deal with no salary retention. Modified, no trade, no move clause, whatever. You still moved him with no salary retention. So I think the fact that, hey, Lou's willing not to pull certain punches and put the team in good position to make the playoffs with the Horvat and Engvall trades. Is that going to pay off long term? We'll find out later. But
I want to interrupt you. I think
about Phaneuf.
Yeah, Dion Phaneuf. Yeah,
but he moved. He had to move Phaneuf because he had to re-sign all those the offensive talents.
But Lou had plenty of money at the time. He had nearly $40 million in cap space.
He
wanted to get out of that contract.
I think what they were trying to do at that point, which is something they still have never done, was restructure a little bit of the way the team was built.
Sure.
More than anything else. And you do that by getting rid of the captain. When you start to see that there's a little bit of a rotting head at the top of the fish, you remove them. When you notice that
could be happening too.
No, that's not. Okay, Lou does have an undying appreciation for the players on this team, and he does
veterans. He really likes the vets.
He I'll say, you said some fans, I will absolutely die on that hill that Lou Lamoriello does not do. I mean, this team, over 75% of this team, he inherited from Garth Snow. He's had 5 fucking seasons here, 5 full years to make his mark. 25%. He's just rearranging bottom pieces. Okay, we've got, if you look at the top line, Matt Barzal, he inherited Matty B. Okay, Bo Horvat, obviously that's one that he acquired. Oliver Wahlstrom, do we think Oliver Wahlstrom's going to be in the first line when he's healthy?
No.
Okay, I don't. So who do we think's on the first line there come opening night?
We genuinely don't know. Like, we honestly don't know, because Anders Lee clearly does not work with Matt Barzal. I literally said this the first time I was on your show. Lee and Barzal do not fit 5-on-5 together. They don't. The speed difference is astronomical. It doesn't work. It does not work. So we genuinely don't know. Like, and I think the fact that this is taking, again, this isn't the optimist in me saying this, but I don't see this big attachment that Lou has, that fans think Lou has. Like, if Lou wants to move somebody, no trade clause be damned, he'll find a way to do it. Buyout, trade, whatever.
Him saying things like, we believe in the core of this team. We're not going to make any. We believe in the core of this team.
And then he doesn't believe in it when he moves away Barzal's best friend.
He does.
Yeah, but maybe he didn't view him as the core. He's talking about Nelson, Lee, Barzy,
Mary,
the fourth line.
Pulak.
When you protect Matt Martin in the expansion draft, you view him as part of your core.
Sure, I agree with that.
I think he looks at core a different way. I think he looks at core as the guys he wants in the room. That's what I think. I mean, because we're not supremely talented, so he looks at guys who he considers, good locker room guys, winners, glue guys, whatever. I mean, you would have to consider for years. Cal Clutterbuck has been part of the core. Casey has. Martin has. Pajot is. Lee, Nelson, and even Bailey before this year was part of the core.
So I mean, for context here, the reason why they tried to expose both Eberle and Bailey, and the mindset.
They did expose both of them. They did.
And the reason why they did was they obviously wanted to retain Palmieri, but they had to shed salary to do that. And if you obviously protect Eberle or Bailey, well, no, actually no, because you obviously want to protect Eberle at that point, but push came to shove, you had to shed at least $5 million. Shedding Martin away isn't going to fulfill that cause and, making the team cap compliant. So that's why I don't think that Matt Martin is a guaranteed, fourth liner next year either. I don't, because there's always changes and the weirdest spots with the team.
Let's ask about the changes. What changes has Lou Lamoriello made in his 5 off seasons here? Off seasons. What changes has he made? I could name them all in one hand.
Are you talking about like with the current core right now, or the coaching as well?
His history here regarding. I'm talking about the composition of the team. He controls that strictly. But if we look at the composition of the team, what moves has he made in the offseason? He traded for Matt Martin his first offseason. He traded for Alexander Romanov this most recent offseason. No, that's a thumbs down.
No, that is a triple thumbs up for me.
He signed a one year plug and play on Zdeno Chara. He signed a 2-year plug and play on Zach Parise. All of these pieces are bottom. So
Leo Komarov.
That's right. Yeah. Oh, I forgot first liner Leo Komarov. So we had bottom sixer Leo Komarov, who was there for a bit,
which is a Trotz issue, by the way.
But he was there for a bit, then he was gone. We got bottom pairing defenseman Zdeno Chara. Oh yeah, bottom pairing or bottom 6 forward Filppula. I guess Romanov was the person of most value that he's ever had.
I think it's safe to say that since Lou Lamoriello has been here, the biggest acquisition the biggest pickup he's made in the offseason is Alexander Romanov.
Yep.
That's fair to say.
I don't even think it's close for second, but everybody else he brings in are guys who are veterans, who are well past their peak, that they bring in on a 1 or a 2-year contract on the cheap, that play a bottom line or bottom pairing or bottom 6 role. Those are not guys who impact your core. That is just like a little tiny, ooh, I see here that we have a little bit of dent in, we have a dent in the wall. Let me go ahead and get some stucco and put that over the dent here. Nobody's going to notice it happened. So, like, that's not affecting the core. That's just rearranging a piece here or there.
I mean, wasn't Leo Komarov waived last year, and then he wouldn't report, and so they terminated his contract on his last year?
Right, but when he signed him,
so
yeah,
I think TJ just asked the question: what were his off-season acquisitions?
Yeah. No. I'm saying, like, I agree to an extent, but I also like the Pajot trade and signing too. But during the offseason,
Pajot was in season.
Pajot was in. But as far as best off-season acquisition, then it's absolutely Alexander Romanov.
Yeah.
But again, though, the attachment that fans think Lou has, I mean, he didn't have to waive Komarov if he really didn't want to, but he did, and Komarov didn't report. So then, bam, bye bye. Same thing with Soshnikov last year. You didn't report consistently to Bridgeport. Out you go. So
I think he absolutely had to waive Komarov. He had tied up too much cap.
He didn't have to. He could have waived somebody else, but he waived Komarov. He could have waived Clutterbuck.
Clutterbuck's a core guy.
Yeah, I was about to say.
So Komarov was on the first line, though.
But that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying about core pieces. He looks at core differently than we look at core.
Yes.
He looks at core as Clutterbuck's been here 10 years. Casey's been here 10 years. Matt Martin's been here 10 plus years. Lee's been here forever. Nelson's been here forever. Bailey, before this year, Bailey was part of the core. Barzy, yes. I mean, but I don't think he certainly didn't look at Ratu as part of the core or Bavillier.
Yeah, Bavillier was never part of the core. And here's the thing, even if you want to claim he's part of the core, they moved one piece. One piece of the core. Everybody else that he's been moving in and out they've been non-entities. They've been just another guys.
And I don't have a problem with them moving Bavillier because he was never going to succeed here. Needed change of scenery. I would have loved to see them maybe expand the package a little bit and get Brock Besser to come in as well. That's what I would have liked to see them do. If you're going to make a change.
Yeah, Vancouver is stuck with that, though. Like they are in limbo with that contract.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If we could have done that, maybe you move something else with a lesser contract, chip in some money for a couple of years, whatever, or Bailey for a year, something. I mean, I would have tried to expand a little bit. I would have felt better about that deal if you would have got two pieces that could contribute for a number of years as opposed to one. Now here's the thing. I'm going to tell you, I like Brock Besser and I like Bo Horvat. I like those players.
I like the I know TJ hates Bo Horvat, but I personally love the Bo Horvat deal. I know, Grumpy. I know you don't like the first rounder going the other way. My question is that first rounder going to become Bo Horvat? I mean, we don't know yet. Well, we don't know.
But all I can say is all the first round draft picks we've traded away. How has that worked out for us? Kyle Palmieri, JG Pajot, first and a second. I mean,
I saw these players were easily acquirable, and like different years required different things. But all these players easily could have been acquired in the offseason as a free agent.
Yeah, but with but again though, with Pajot, the glaring need that season was 3C. That was the complete glaring need. The Islanders had a complete hole there. You know, they tried putting Brassard there, didn't work. They tried putting Bailey there. They tried putting Koivula, Komarov. You know, nothing worked there.
But they
tried putting Bardreau there.
But they overpaid. It's not like he's wheeling and dealing and getting a good deal. He's overpaying, and then he overpays on contract. So you're doubling down on Pajot. And I love JG Pajot. Who was the first one to say, yes, I love that JG Pajot coming to the Islanders?
You know who said we overpaid for a guy who was going to be.
I know. But here's the thing.
I was preaching for
a first and a second round pick and $5 million for 5 years for a third line center is too much.
Let me ask you a question, Rob, regarding the contracts. What did you think of the entire Jordan Staal contract? Just being objective here because you're from Carolina, obviously. So
Yeah, I
what
don't.
do you?
I don't know their contract situation.
So I believe it was 9 years, 6 million per, and this is his final year, and he's 34 now. Is that
Well,
a is that a
that's a
is
good deal.
6 million?
Jordan Stahl.
He's averaged less than 50 points over the past 7 years.
He's a captain of the team, and he signed
But
it when he was what 20, 25 years old.
But it took him. It took him. Okay, but this is a pre-lockout deal, so you can get away with a term like that.
But they signed it when he's 25.
But it took him. It took him until he was 34, though, at 6 million per, and he hasn't put up 50 points since his mid-20s.
Well, but here's the thing: you roll the dice on that. Here's the thing: I would much rather sign a deal like that, where I'm paying a guy who's entering the prime of his career, and I'm paying for futures. It doesn't work out every time, but he's the captain of that team, and they've been really good. He'll be back next year with Carolina on a lesser deal.
Sure,
he'll absolutely be back. If let's say we were to bring somebody back at 34 years old, you think that we're going to pay go on a year-to-year basis? We're not. I mean, I think you're underestimating what Jordan Stahl does for that particular.
Oh no, I am well aware of what Jordan Stahl does. Jordan Stahl, he is essentially, but again, and this is an unpopular take, he and Pajot right now are the same person in terms of what they do on the ice. I'm not talking captaincy. I'm not talking captaincy. Jordan Stahl, probably a better long-term leader, but in terms of what they do against the opposing top guns, because every time Barzal and Horvat were out there 5-on-5, out goes the Jordan Stahl line. Every time the Sebastian Aho line was out against the Islanders, out goes Pajot. Out goes Pajot. They play the same role essentially, and they average nearly the same point pace per season over the past 4 years. And only Jordan Stahl, he has 1 less year. Pajot's got 3 more years. They essentially play the same type of style.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's not anything more than a third line center, but when they signed him when he was 25, he wasn't a third line center then. His skill set has he had to transition to being a third line center. He was a second line guy. He was a second line center there who, I mean, clutch, really clutch. I mean, here's the thing. Jordan Stahl is another guy that I like. Now, and I think he's invaluable to Carolina. Invaluable.
Absolutely.
More so than Pajot. I mean, and I like JG Pajot. I don't think Pajot's been the same player since he got hurt in 2020 in the playoffs. I don't think he's been the same player since.
I mean,
I don't know why.
I mean, he put up 40. I mean, to put up 40 points in 72 games. I mean, that's not bad.
I'm not talking about points. I'm just saying.
Oh, you're talking about his willingness to pull the trigger and shoot. Yeah.
He seemed like Parise is still to this day, going hard into corners, doing all that stuff. Pajot used to do that. He doesn't do that as much anymore. And I don't know what the injury was. I don't know if it's still, or it could be that he's just 30 years old. And you know what?
He's a guy with a smaller frame who took a
guy
lot
who's
of
done that for years and years, just kind of wears down. Well, he's not a big guy either. Stahl's a big guy. Stahl's a big guy. But Pajot's a smaller guy. And playing that type of style, it's hard. The older you get, it's tougher and tougher to do. And that's where I think we are with Pajot. And he's still got 3 more years on. Who knows what he's going to look like in 3 years? By the time he's 34, you think he's going to be Jordan Stahl now? I don't.
Well, he won't be. He won't be on the Islanders at 34 because his contract's supposed to end when he's 33.
33, right? But
yeah.
Even at 33, do you think he's going to be as good at 3 years from now as Jordan Stahl is now? I don't think so.
I mean, but Jordan Stahl, from a points perspective, I know, Grump, you're not talking about points, but not points that warrants in probably TJ's mind $6 million though.
No, I mean, but when they signed him, he was not a third liner. That's what I'm saying. I mean, he winds up transitioning to a third liner because he can't do it, particularly with the change in philosophy that Carolina had. I mean, Carolina is now aggression, speed on the forecheck. That's not his game. Certainly not now. But that's what his wingers do, right? They're the other guys who press and he stays back because, well, it's systematic as well as just skill set wise. And I just, like I said, Pajot used to be that guy going into the corners. I just don't see that as much from him anymore. That's all I'm saying. And that's the 30. 3 years from now, is he going to get better? Probably not.
I think the reason why early on, though, again, you didn't see that normally with Pajot during the first half of the season, and especially with Pellick and Pollock, was just the system wasn't the same. I think the system didn't benefit players like Pajot, like Pellick, and like Pollock early on. And then when they finally went back to the playoff style hockey, you started to see them play to a style that they were quite familiar with.
And
they stuck with their strength.
That their skill set fits. And that's why I thought Lane Lambert was in a no-win situation last year. He was brought in, and the first thing we need to get more offense out of this team. Period. Why? Because they knew they were not scoring enough. They were not productive enough offensively. So he's like, okay, you're stuck with these same guys. There's going to be no change in the lineup, and there really wasn't. And all of a sudden, what happens? For the defenseman to be jumping up on the rush, well, guess what? You don't have a whole team of Noah Dobsons or, Cale Makars or Devon Taves where, they can rush up the ice and then get back. You got Pellick, Pulak, Mayfield. These guys they're not the best skaters. They're throwback defensemen for the most part, and that style didn't fit them. When they go back, yes, but then what did you see? Islanders aren't scoring again. That's kind of the catch-22 where we are. You want the team to score more. You need to score more to actually win and to win playoff series, but the skill set of the players isn't there right now.
I mean, the Islanders were, correct me if I'm wrong, though, the Islanders were averaging over 3 goals per game, though, when they went back to the system. They were.
We played the weakest
the shittiest
teams in the league.
You beat the teams who are in front of you. Anybody can beat anybody. Yeah, okay. They laid a 7-burger on Toronto.
Here's the thing, though.
They did.
When we look at the teams, right, you can only beat the teams in front of you. That's true. But next year, we're not going to have a short sample size where we're only looking at a finite amount of games. That's just the truth of the matter.
I also don't think they're going to stick with the same system, though, throughout the entirety of the season. I don't think they will either.
Well, then you're asking. Okay. Let's say, because I think I 100% think you're correct. You're going to dig yourself a hole at the beginning and have to come flying back at the end. That's just what you're going to have to do, because really the makeup of the team isn't going to change hardly at all. You are already looking at what next year's team is going to be. You might add a veteran defenseman. That's it. Everyone else will be the same next year. Mark my words.
I don't think Mayfield's coming back.
Okay, so you bring up a veteran defenseman to fill in for him. But the forward group is going to be exactly the same. You'll have Wahlstrom coming back. You'll have Wahlstrom coming back. You might see Holmstrom get a little bit more time, but everybody else is under still extensive contracts. Maybe Bailey is a guy who's, a healthy scratch, or maybe he gets moved in the offseason. But he wasn't playing at the end anyway. Fashing's going to play every day.
And he should.
Right. Casey's going to play. Lee, Nelson, Palmieri, Parise, if he signs back, is going to play. Engvall, if he signs back, is going to play. Horvat, Barzell, Wahlstrom. That's your whole team. It's already picked out. We don't make any moves in the offseason. We haven't, in the 6 years that he's been there as GM, he hasn't made any big offseason moves. Hasn't.
Well, I agree that you'll probably see like 85 to 90% of this forward group still remain intact. Like I said, I don't think you're going to be able to move everybody all at once. Like you can't. I mean, I think Bailey at the bare minimum will get moved. I just
play at the end anyway. I've already.
Yeah, but in terms of shedding salary, though, they kind of have to move him. They kind of have to. Lane has had like a rocky relationship trying to play Bailey, scratching Bailey here and there. And I give him a lot of credit for doing that, because, again, Trotz hardly ever did that with Josh. Hardly ever. And it's just, I don't know. He's part of the cul-de-sac crew. And you want to shake up the crew? That should be Exhibit A, going right out the door.
Clutterbuck's another one who should go.
But what I'm saying is, so I agree he should go. But if you're going to really, really, really shake up the team and give him that sense of anxiety, moving a long tenured veteran like Bailey. Again, we don't think the same of him like the players do. like players don't think like fans. Like they have this long cul-de-sac crew-like attachment that you rightfully give them the title of having. You move someone like Bailey out, it will shake them up. It absolutely will.
I would agreed with you if they did it 2 years ago. He didn't even play down the stretch.
I think he's been phased out.
Now here's the thing: you want to move a guy and shake the locker room up. You move Anders Lee.
See you later, Anders.
And that could happen too.
I'd be willing to eat half his salary for the next 3 years just to move him. I would absolutely do that. He's another guy, no trade contract. He's comfortable here. Comfort. That's most of the guys. We're comfortable here. Maybe that's part of the problem.
But I mean, though, to be fair, though, it does become modified after next season, and his actual money owed is a lot less than his AAV. So there is a window there to potentially move him down the road. But again, though,
cap hit.
What's up?
All teams that are acquiring players, all they care about is cap hit.
Unless you're the Coyotes.
Well, yeah, but he's not going to the Coyotes.
I know. He would not. He would not waive to go there. I know.
Yeah, exactly. He would not.
No,
he would not.
But I think Bailey, I believe, is the longest tenured Islander, if I'm not mistaken. A couple of years,
14 years, 15 years.
So 2008. Again, I still maintain. I know Bailey's been phased out. But I believe there was a picture of him hanging out with like Matt Martin and his wife and the crew a couple days ago. I think TJ knows what I'm referring to. That Sydney tweeted out here and there. But if you want to shake that core and that group up, I think Bailey would be the exhibit A to move away. It would affect them. It would affect them a lot more than you realize. Yep, there you go. Him with that nice little straw hat on.
Maybe in the room, but I don't know if it affects the on ice product.
What type of fucking hat does that Bailey bastard have on his head?
He's like the man with the yellow hat in the Curious George comics.
Yes,
that's what he is right there.
Yes.
Look at him. This guy, I tell you what, every time I think that he can't do anything to make me make fun of him more, he does something else.
Man,
that's true.
I tell you.
There's Cal Clutterbuck, right? Isn't that Cal?
No, that's not Cal, is it?
No, that's not Cal. That looks like that's I talk about the guy with like the army looking jacket. That's Shattenkirk.
Oh, Shattenkirk. Okay.
Yeah, that's Shattenkirk right there.
Matt Martin there. Okay.
Yeah.
And I don't know who the other ones are, so can't tell.
Yeah. Well, there's only 3 guys I know. Yeah.
Eden Hazard looks like the other guy's Eden Hazard. He can't play
either. Here's the problem. The team is way too comfortable. We've talked about it. They've got to change shit up. I don't believe, to kind of bring it back full circle before we get into our ad read. I believe Lou is loyal to the players, knowing that he does not have enough time and length to have a major reconstruction of the team. And I think that's really where it comes from. He can't say, oh, great, I can blow this piece up and that piece up and rearrange things here, and I'm going to have enough time to put a 7 or 8 year plan into play. He doesn't have that luxury being 81 years old. So, it's the same issue we had with Lou when he was asked about, hey, did you guys shop around Varlamov at all? Well, we didn't even entertain that idea.
Where's that question coming from?
When you have a general manager who's at the age he's at and is focused on one particular thing, when maybe it's not in the Islanders' best interest of the franchise, not only short term but also long term, and you've got him fixated on this one item, I think it could lead to foolish decisions on behalf of him that leave us, the fans, unfortunately, with the burden to pay. So, that's always the problem that I've had with it. But we do have an ad, or actually 2 ads today to read from DraftKings, grumpy old man.
Nice.
Or I'm sorry, not from DraftKings, but one from DraftKings and one from Raycon, Grump.
Raycon.
You know how much you love Raycon. Man, we got a whole bunch of messages here.
Also, did you see what I sent you just now, TJ?
Not yet. I'll look that up.
I think you'll get a kick out of it.
Okay. The first sponsor of today's show is DraftKings. Light the lamp during the NHL playoffs. With DraftKings Sportsbook. Right now, new customers can make a $5 bet and score $150 in bonus bets instantly. So you could say, hey, I'm thinking Florida is going to go ahead and win the Stanley Cup. I'm thinking that maybe Vegas comes away and wins. You can bet whatever you want. You can bet on which games you want, who's going to score goals, who's going to register most shots, whatever you want, you can bet on there. But download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and sign up using the promo code THPN. New customers can make a $5 hockey bet and score $150 in bonus bets instantly. You don't even have to win. You don't even have to be right on your bet. Man, that's nice. You're just playing with house money. But again, that's promo code THPN only at DraftKings Sportsbook. And if you or a loved one has a gambling problem, make sure to check out the resources in the link in the description below, and as well as the show notes you can find below here. And we also have a ad today to read from DraftKings. Let's face it, with coffee starting at $5.
Wait. Hold on.
I'm sorry. This is
you already
from
did DraftKings.
This is from.
I shouldn't even have to pay attention during the advertising.
Do you not pay attention during the ad reads, Grumpy?
No, you're the one who reads them, so no.
You don't pay attention.
I've heard you say it 100 times. Raycon is the next one.
That's right, Grumpy. It's Raycon. I was just checking to see if you were paying attention. That's why I made that very noticeable error. But this podcast is brought to you by Raycon. Let's face it, with coffee starting at $5, and yes, even without any customization, and our bank accounts somehow always depleting, we're officially entering a dupe session. Most products do the same thing, but are priced differently solely based on the brand name. So a good duplicate or dupe is crucial for getting the highest quality at the best price. One dupe that you definitely shouldn't sleep on is Raycon's wireless earbuds. Raycon is a premium audio brand at the perfect price point, so you can listen to what you want, when you want, without breaking the bank. Raycon's mission is to prove that you shouldn't have to pay an arm and a leg for quality sound and essential smart technology listening features. You can get a pair and a spare and still pay less than what you would for some of the other guys, the more of those big name tech brands that are out there. And Raycon knows that in this economy, every purchase needs to be perfect. They offer buy now, pay later options. And right now you can pay as low as $18 at checkout. They have an easy and free return guarantee. And they offer 2 years of product protection insurance for just a few bucks. They offer free domestic shipping and flat fee international shipping. And they have over 50,000 5-star reviews. And that's right. If you like the podcast, you got to write 5-star review for the Grumpy Old Man. But they've got, earbud tap functionality. They've got noise isolation, awareness mode. They've got the sweat resistance, so Grumpy can listen to his little earbuds and have a good time. But go to buyraycon.com/THPN today to get 15% off your Raycon order. That's buyraycon.com/THPN to score 15% off. One more time, buyraycon.com/THPN to get 15% off your Raycon order.
15% off. Wonderful.
Grumpy, are you going to buy a Raycon pair of headphones now?
If you were a good son, that's what you would get me.
Is that what you want?
Father's Day is coming up soon.
You want headphones?
No.
Well, holy shit. You just said if a good son would get you one. Now all of a sudden you don't want headphones.
I'll let Son X do it. He's a good son.
Son X doesn't even fill up the fucking fridge. And you're over here thinking he's going to buy you headphones for freaking Father's Day? Well, he'll be lucky enough to get him to even come over and visit the 5 minutes away.
I'm sure he'll come over and visit on Father's Day. I'm certain of it.
There's going to be free food involved for him and the dog, isn't there?
Very true. It will be.
Holy shit. Okay. We got to roast Son X a little bit more because he's not here to defend himself.
Mm-hmm.
But it's one of these for the Islanders. The offseason has just been all quiet on the Western Front. And Stefan Rosner wrote an article about today. It's like, it's just been static. And, he expects to hear that static until the NHL draft.
That's around the time I said.
Yep. So, again, we might not hear back from our fantastic crew until the NHL draft.
And it'll be day 2, if that. It'll be in between the commercial break and pick whatever. Pick 50, whatever it is, whenever we're picking.
Maybe we could trade that pick away. Maybe we could trade that pick away because maybe Lou has some anxiety about addressing the press. So he thinks if we could trade that pick away for a current player, maybe he doesn't have to address the press this year. You can wait and push it off to next season.
It'll be one of those teams like you ever watch any of those drafts? Teams that don't have picks in the first 3 rounds. Hey, haven't talked about them in 3 days. Let's see. Hey, what do they
Usually
need?
those teams win a Stanley Cup they're talking about.
Yeah, or they're really, really bad. Hey, let's talk about the Los Angeles Rams.
Oh man.
Why waste your time?
Mikey D says, sorry guys, but gotta bring it up. Elliot Friedman mentioned that today that Dubas might be contemplating other offers from teams. Maybe Lou is trying to get him.
I don't think so. He'll get a GM job somewhere else. He will.
Probably Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh already has permissions to bring him in. I mean, honestly though, if you were a GM, which franchise would you want? What franchise who's looking for a GM would you want to take over? I mean, you have who's out there like Pittsburgh, I think Ottawa, the Island.
Well, I would say Calgary, but they hired Conroy, so that's.
And Toronto signed Trevelling today.
Yes, they did.
So I don't know how many GM ships are out there now. I think Ottawa's without one, and I think Pittsburgh's without one.
No, Ottawa still has Pierre Dorian.
I thought he stepped down.
I haven't seen an announcement on that.
Okay. I thought he was stepping out the air. I could be mistaken.
That was speculation. They think Pierre Dorian's got a lot of heat right now, but
okay.
I haven't seen anything yet.
Well, honestly, it would be a shame if he lost his job now, because you can see Ottawa kind of starting to round the turn a little bit.
Yep, I think so.
They're starting to come out the other side of the tunnel a little bit.
They still need defense and goaltending now.
Yeah.
I like the Chikrin trade to an extent, but there's still at least 3 more holes in their defense that they have to fix, and their goaltending is very inconsistent. Very inconsistent by Talbot this year. Yeah.
Go ahead, Brandon.
No, I'm saying like they still have a lot of holes that they need to fix, and who knows if Josh Norris will be 100% next year. There's a lot of uncertainty with that team, and DJ Smith's probably on the hot seat too. They have to make the playoffs next year. They have to at least try to.
Well, I mean, I thought you saw a drastic improvement from them this year. Drastic improvement.
I was about to say, I think that Ottawa is a team where you look at him and say, okay, Stutzel's a guy who's going to continue to get better. Kachuk continues to perform. You've got now Chikrin that's going to be a member of that team. I think there's a lot of there's reasons if you're an Ottawa fan to be positive, right? Then you kind of know what the direction of the team is.
I mean, they've been a bad team for quite a while now, right?
Yeah, very bad. Yeah.
I mean, but you're seeing, hey, that's what happens. That's what happens when you don't have the money. Guys go to free agency, guys get old, guys retire, and you have nothing coming up through the system. Ottawa went through the same thing we're getting ready to go through.
Okay. What led to Ottawa's massive decline was how they handled the Matt Duchene trade. I mean, you trade away your captain. No, he wasn't their captain. I believe he was their assistant captain, Kyle Turris, away. You bring in Matt Duchene, hoping he could learn everything just like that. And then everything just fell apart. Ottawa, they gave away, I believe they gave away the first rounder, which they ended up using to select Brady Tkachuk. But then they kept Ottawa's unprotected, Colorado kept Ottawa's unprotected 2019 pick, which ended up being 4th overall, and they used it to select Bowen Byram. So that was a horrible Matt Duchene trade, and that led to their huge downfall. And they've done their best recovering from the Erik Karlsson trade. They got some pieces from that. They got Stützle, they got Norris from that trade. So they tried to rectify that.
Well, hey, they got to the conference finals that one year. You sure it's not worth it, or do they get to the cup finals? How far did Ottawa go that one year?
Game 7 against Pittsburgh. They lost in overtime. Chris Kunitz got the game winner.
Look at that. They went to game 7 in overtime in the Eastern Conference Finals. I think it was worth it for them to go ahead and mortgage off many years in the future to make the Eastern Conference Finals.
You can, but you have to do it properly. Like on paper, that trade was horrible.
I'm being sarcastic.
I know, but like a pick that was that conditional pick that became unprotected, given how bleak that team looked the following year.
But that's before teams started protecting first round picks. That's just a recent thing in the NHL where teams are lottery protecting picks. It's been going on in the NBA for years, but not in the NHL. And here's the thing. That's why. Now, here's the thing. I think we can all agree Matt Duchene is a better player, or was a better player at that time, better than J.G. Pageau, better than Kyle Palmieri. I think that's fair to say.
Sure.
But here's the thing. When you're trading away draft picks like that willy-nilly for a run at the cup, when the cupboard runs dry and you lose guys, you're in full rebuild.
Yep.
That's and that's what I'm afraid the Islanders are there. That's where we are now, unfortunately. I mean, and here's the thing. I like what Ottawa's done. I think it would be a shame if Doring lost his job after, stewarding them through the tough times. And now you're starting to see him come out the other end. I don't know if they're good enough to make the playoffs next year. Buffalo is, though. Buffalo is.
They still need help in goal as well, though. They have no goaltender unless Devin Levi could play like Logan Thompson this year. Like there's always
goalies available, always.
But why would you want to go to Buffalo? Dude, it's cold up. It's cold up there, man. It's cold up there.
Yeah, but they got money to spend. Players, you know where players go? Okay, if you're a hockey player, guess what? You're used to the cold environments. So I don't think it's as big a deal for them. And here's the thing. Buffalo's got money to spend. And that's where players really want. Where do they get paid?
You can also pitch, hey, you've got a legitimate chance maybe to be on a competitive or a team that's competing for a cup.
And listen, I like what Buffalo's done. I'm glad that the Bagulas are finally staying out of their way and focusing more on the Bills. I'm glad that they're doing that because every time they tried to get involved, with that whole speech that Kim said that, oh, we know more about this team than the fans do. I'm like, are you stupid? Why would you say that? Like you say this shortly after firing a whole bunch of scouts in 2020. Like, are you kidding me? So they finally stayed out of the way. They let Kev Adams try to do his thing. He's had more hits than misses. I like the Don Granato hire much better than Ralph frickin' Kruger, who was in an English soccer league before going to Buffalo.
He was no Ted Lasso.
And everybody was regressing though under Kruger. Like Darlene was regressing. Dylan Cousins was up and down. Reinhardt was inconsistent. There was no certainty with that Sabres team until they finally just let him go. And the way they let him go, I know we're veering off Islanders talk right now, but they were on a 13-game losing streak when they fired him. Yeah. Like, come on, stop the bleeding.
I mean,
so I like their future. I do, but it's still uncertain though until they fix what's in net.
They're just so young. I mean, I think the Levi kid will be part of a platoon. I think they will go out and get a good veteran this year. That's what I think they'll do. That they need a veteran goaltender, and they need one, maybe two defensive defensemen. Now, here's the thing. I hear Orlov. Oh, Orlov will come to the Islanders. Why would Orlov come to the Islanders?
Yeah, I don't want him either. He's getting up there in age too.
But now he fits a team like Buffalo.
Sure.
A veteran like that to help Darlene and Power. I think it's a perfect fit for them.
But to your point though, he's going to want money though.
They have money. They have money. They've locked up their young guys already. Their young core's already locked up.
But where would he fit though? Where would Orlov fit on that team?
He could be on your number one defense pairing. Orlov was good. People, let me tell you something.
No, he is good. He is good. But you get to break up Samuelson and Darlene though. They're a very good pairing together.
Playing with Power. I mean, Power needs a lot of help.
If he does, yeah.
I mean, here, like I said, I thought
Yoki Haru. I mean,
Yoki Haru. I like Yoki Haru.
But to me, Yoki Haru, he's a bottom pairing guy. I have no problem with that.
He can play top. He can play top four.
The odd man out.
They're they're close enough where you roll the dice. They did not make a move at the deadline. They didn't.
Nope.
They and I thought they were a goaltender. Same thing, goaltender, defenseman away. That's why I thought they were away from being a playoff team. They get that this offseason, and they just you know what? We don't care. We're happy with our progress this year, and they made tremendous progress. They missed the playoffs by 2 points, whatever it was, close. They got hot at the end as well. If they didn't have that falling apart 15 games out, they would have made the playoffs.
Yeah.
And that's a team the Islanders can't keep up with them. They're another one of those teams, big, physical, a lot of speed, that give us a problem. I think Buffalo was so close. And Granato is a good coach for a young team. I don't know if he'll be there when they're really good, if you know what I mean. Because there's certain coaches that coach at certain times of a franchise and certain guys that take you over the top. I don't know if he's one of those guys.
Same thing where Gallant is a guy who gets you to the point but doesn't win you anything. Rick Roma says, I feel like Dubas has better options than the old Islanders team with the worst prospect pool in the NHL. Dubas has apparently already decided it's between Ottawa and Pittsburgh. Yeah, I was about to say, too, what would cause Dubas to go ahead and say, this Islanders team, who has not won a playoff series round in the last 2 years, missed out last year with an aged core, that they're going to be in a spot that I feel confident I can bring them to a Stanley Cup? What would make him feel like that? I think even if we were interested, there's no way he's coming here.
Okay, with that argument, I agree that there's a possibility he can go to Ottawa. Using that logic, though, Pittsburgh's prospect pool sucks ass as well. They have no prospects ready. They have none. And I'm not saying the Islanders do either, but neither does Pittsburgh. And Pittsburgh doesn't even have a goalie right now.
That's true. They didn't have a goalie all last year.
They haven't had a goalie since Fleury.
Yeah. That's when they thought, hey, we're smart. We're gonna clip. But they never liked Fleury for whatever reason.
Rutherford didn't like Fleury.
Well,
Rutherford didn't like him.
He ran the team.
Yeah.
So they didn't like Fleury. And they thought, Matt Murray's going to come in because, the backup goalie's most popular guy in town. And, when he assumes the mantle, all of a sudden, Chishanjari, he's the most popular guy because he looks good in the backup role. It's tough being a starter in the NHL. Really is. I just look at Pittsburgh, and I don't think Pittsburgh, that's not a team I'd want to be GM of. I'll be honest with you. How many years realistically does Crosby and Malkin and Letang have? I know they're still under contract, but how many years did they have where they're going to be productive players? That's my whole thing. How long as really productive players? 2 or 3 tops.
And also, if you're Kyle Dubas, you don't get a 1 to 3 year window to quote unquote build something. You have to win right away. If you're going to a veteran team like Pittsburgh, who's won their cups, who already has Crosby, Malkin, Letang, Dillon, and Gensel and company locked in, you're going to be pressured to win right away.
Yep.
There's a reason why they got rid of Burke and Hextall. They want to win right away.
The Athletic had a really good article on the new ownership group that came in, and there was disagreement between the coaching staff and the players and the guys they brought in. And it's really an interesting read. It's not surprising to me that they were out immediately once that new ownership group came in.
Are you talking about the Hextall not getting along with Malkin? Was that the one you were referring to?
Hextall treated Malkin like shit.
Yeah.
And but he also didn't talk with Sullivan at all.
Nope.
And it's and the ownership group initially said, hey, supposedly there was an agreement. They came in saying, those guys came in, Burke and Burke and Hextall, and said they wanted to transition away from the veterans. And the ownership group said, why are you not signing Malkin back? It was only because ownership stepped in. Malkin went to Crosby went to the coach and to ownership. It says, why the hell are you not signing this guy? It's the only reason he was signed. And then Hextall made him feel like shit even after signing that deal. That was obviously not going to work.
Nope.
Here's the thing. They should, if you bring in a general manager, you should let him run the way the team he sees fit. And if you diametrically disagree with the mentality he's got, you shouldn't have hired him as your general manager.
Nope.
It's that simple.
Yeah.
Like when you were interviewing, you weren't like, "Hey, what's your plans on, with the Malkin situation? What are you thinking about doing? What type of contract would you offer him? Give us a
They
little
didn't
insight into
expect
what your
they
thoughts
didn't
were."
expect Rutherford to step down. That really caught them all by surprise.
Yeah, because that was very abrupt. It wasn't
Yeah.
like a planned thing. It just happened, bam,
Yep.
like that.
So they had to do something to
Mhm.
like right away.
Yeah.
But who gives a shit about Pittsburgh? I don't.
Yeah. Flex Crew says, check my phone at 8 p.m. I'm ready to tune in. But then I remembered this is Grumpy's podcast that Teacher just happens to be in control of.
True.
Grumpy, how does that make you feel?
Not surprised.
Okay.
I go with the flow. I'm easygoing.
Rick Roma said, Ottawa with rich new owners and a good young roster has to be very appealing to Dubas. I think so too.
Yeah, I do too.
That's what I'm thinking, though. If you're gonna let Dorian go, and I believe Dubas he grew up a fan of the Senators, if I'm not mistaken. So it probably would fit him the most compared to Pittsburgh.
Mikey D says here, see what Trotz said today. Basically, it was, I want the Predators to be fast, young, offensive minded, and super talented. Pretty different than what the Islanders are, pretty different than the Islanders with him.
Okay, Brandon, what do you think about that comment? I have my own thoughts on. I'll let you talk about it first.
Talk is cheap. Take action and actually do it. Sorry. I'm not gonna trust him. If you're constantly gonna roll Bailey out there as a sixth attacker, a slow ass player, what makes me think I'm gonna trust that? Sorry.
Okay. Here's the way I look, and of course the proof is going to be in the pudding, right? But let's say he does, and he goes with a youth movement. It tells me that Barry Trotz was astute enough to know, well, you know what? This is all I have. There's nothing coming up through the minors, and this is what we're going to have going forward. So I have to tailor my coaching style based on the skill set of the players that we have. And maybe he wanted it to be something different, but Lou just didn't or wasn't adept enough to transition.
Now, were these comments, is that true? I want the Predators to be fast, young, offensive minded.
Oh my God, please don't tell me he said this.
And then adds, I can find you a third or fourth line guy. No problem. Go get me some guys that can get people out of their seats. I cannot, hold on. It's like I've woken up in the Twilight Zone and I'm like, the world is upside down. What the hell is going on with these comments from Barry Trotz?
Here's what it tells me. It was all Lou Lamoriello.
Oh my God.
Now he's going to have to prove it.
Sure.
Yeah, like that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like talk is cheap. Like,
but now
take action and actually do it.
He was not in charge of acquiring players or any of that stuff. That was Lamoriello. He told him what we want. You know what? If he does it, kudos to Barry Trotz. And always thought he was a good coach, but he'll jump up here, and then everything comes down on Lou. Everything. And I'll owe Trotz an apology.
And exactly. That's what I was about to say. I will owe Trotz an apology if that's the case. Do you want to listen to the little 3-minute clip? I cannot believe he said that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'll listen. What the heck?
Sure.
All I got is time.
Prepared
3 minutes. Where is it? How come it's not up yet?
And maybe they're interested in moving a player that could help this team right now. You have the cap space that you'd be.
I'm looking for those deals, actually. Those would be more, and we've been offered some of those already, or I shouldn't say offered, they've been proposed already. Those are the type of deals I'm looking for. If you want to, there's some top teams right now that they're going to have trouble resigning guys, whatever, or they won't have the cap because guys' contracts increase sometimes yearly, or they're trying to make a move. All that being said, there's been some proposals. I love those deals that I got cap space. I might give you a little sweetener. I get the player that I want and with the right term. You still got some term on him that could fit in our culture. That would be perfect scenarios for me. So, yeah, if you know anybody who wants to do that, and there's a few, and if you have inside info or influence, I should say, I'm all ears on that because those are the deals I really want. I don't think we'll be big players in the free agency. There's not a lot of we'll have some, but I don't think we'll be the big player. Like I think it's the free agent list this year is a little bit lean. So I'll let
He's right.
us fight over that a little bit. But
Barry Trotz needs to work on his GM talk. He needs to
You
work
know
on
what?
saying absolutely nothing. I like him more as this role.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know what he's telling his fan base? This is what we're going to do. This is what we're attempting to do.
This is my actual thought. I was joking around. I'm being facetious when I said he needs to work on his GM talk, because I'm joking around saying GMs usually don't come out and say what they're actually trying to do and what they're trying to accomplish. They say, "Oh yeah, this offseason we've got to address certain needs and we think it can be done. We believe in the core of this group." They don't just speak around in circles. He's not doing that here. So
maybe we should have made him coach and GM.
Damn it, Barry, come back. No, I'm just kidding. Let's finish up here.
I'll handpick some guys that will be good cultural pieces, I'm sure. But I'm looking for those deals where the guy might have a term. I can have him for, and if he fits, I'll sign him for longer. If he doesn't, then it'll be a shorter term risk. So, but I'm looking for those. And one thing that I'm always, anytime that you've won, I'm looking for guys that have won. You know, when I say cultural pieces, that's why I'm excited for the Milwaukee crew. You know, Andrew's won. You know, I've won. We're trying to get to all the people that won, because you can relate to those guys that haven't yet. And when you're surrounded, if I'm surrounded by all you people who have won, there's nothing more that will drive me than to be in your group. And that's sort of the process that you want. You don't want to be, you look at the Stanley Cup this year. Whoever wins it, there'll be a player who on that team who's not won, he loved by his team. Maybe has gone a number of years and has never won it. And guess who gets it first after the captain? That guy. Because you get into that real close group, and then it's sort of a rite of passage type thing. So that's what I would like to create. Every team would like to do that. And because we're young, I think I have an opportunity to do that. And that's my goal. And like as David said, in this business changes daily, and I've seen that already. But as much as we can stay to the plan, we're going to stay to that plan. And I think it'll pay huge dividends for us.
I like him much more. I have no idea what the results are going to be under Barry Trotz, but I like those responses much more than the responses we get from Lou.
It's honeymoon period there.
Certainly.
It is.
I'm like, wow, I could be enamored with Barry Trotz. Man, things sound so great.
It's honeymoon period. They're a team that's not expected to do anything last year. So let's say they contend for a playoff spot and they get better with the younger core. That's a successful season for them.
Sure.
Okay. Tell me JG Pajot wouldn't look good in Nashville.
Ooh, are you trying to trade him? You're trying to get rid of Jean-Gabriel Pajot?
Well, I'm just listening to what he said. Core piece. He's not going to take. I'm sure he'd take Brock Nelson, but they're not moving Nelson. But tell me you couldn't move a JG Pajot there.
It's true.
And get underneath the last 3 years of his $5 million per contract.
I agree.
That opens up. He's a core guy. That opens up a spot for your team. Gives you some salary cap relief. And he's right though. This is not a good year for free agency. Why? And here's another thing I predict. You're not going to see the free agency crops that you've seen in the past, because every team is doing what I said 3 years ago they should do, which is lock up young players in their buyout restricted free agency years. So this way you have them through the peak of their career. By the time they get 31, 32, you know what? Good luck finding a contract somewhere else. And that's what you're seeing. And I think that's also a problem. Well, the Islanders don't sign anybody anyway, but that would be a problem with us.
Is this what I sent you, TJ?
Yeah, it is.
Coming out of the bushes.
Grumpy, you'll get a kick out of this. I watched about 2 seconds of it. This is Mike, who was just on last week, created this, Grumpy, and it's
coming out of the woods.
It's what is Matt Barzal's happy place?
Hold on, with his Islander takes, it looks like he's been living in the woods for a while.
Oh, Grumpy, are you saying he's like?
That's how he grew the Fisherman beer last year.
Yeah.
Good gracious.
Oh, happy
Glamourello wants me to be happy.
That's Leo Komarov.
Don't feel bad about me.
Holy shit! I was wondering who the hell this was put over the top of him. Okay, that's Leo. Gotcha.
I got my hand back, see? We've only just begun to live. White lace and promises, kiss for luck, and we're on our way.
Did he say Lou Lamoriello at the beginning of this clip?
Yes.
Wants
Lamoriello.
me to be
Christ almighty. Oh, good gracious.
He's got too much time on his hands.
Yeah, never change, Mike. Never change.
Oh, God almighty. Anthony Rizzi, Grumpy.
I still think Trotz will want someone from the Islanders and call Lou or whoever is our GM. I can see him going after Pajot or Casey for the locker room and penalty killing. I would much rather move Pajot than Casey.
Really?
Just because of the money that's involved.
I mean, I don't know. I just don't think the contract's going to age poorly. I don't. I'd rather move Bailey. I'd rather move Bailey before Pajot.
Okay, but he's
Bailey,
not going to
have to give up pieces.
He's not going to want Bailey. You get something for Pajot. You're not going to get anything for Bailey. Here's the thing. I'm willing to eat Bailey's contract for a year, bury him in the minors. Maybe he'll retire, whatever. But I'm not giving away assets to move him. Not in the last year of his deal. Absolutely not.
I agree with that.
Would you move? Would you move a fifth to move Bailey? No salary retained. Push came to shove. He's owed $3.5 million in actual money. Team has a boatload of cap space. They say, "Hey, we'll take Josh Bailey if you fork over a fifth rounder."
Maybe I would do that. Maybe, but I'm not. But I'm not giving a second. I'm not giving a second.
No. That's too high.
I'm not giving a fourth because we don't have the third. I mean, like I said, I'm willing to eat it and punish him and send him down to the minors for his failure as a player. Anthony Rizzi says, I still can't believe no word from management. I guess we will hear from them at the draft. Just shameful. Fans deserve much better. I agree.
I agree with that too. And Drew L., grumpy old man.
Yeah, with what Barry Trotz said earlier today, maybe I wished he was our GM instead of Lou. There you go.
It's in the honeymoon stage. I think you're right. But man, I saw that. I was like, holy shit, sign me up.
What, though? I'd rather be in the honeymoon stage all the time.
Sure.
Right now we're like in the, here you go, Brandon. Get ready for this. Like the 37th year of marriage.
Are you speaking from personal experience?
No, I'm not. Because I've not been married 37 years.
Been married less?
You just say you've been, or okay, let's say 18th year of marriage. Something like that. You're just kind of grinding every day, right?
Oh my God.
So, here's the thing. You're in the honeymoon phase, right? You are. I mean, look how excited you were. Your girl collapsed in the street when you gave her a ring, and this is the greatest thing for you. I'm happy for you. But you know what? It changes when you've been with, I've been with the warden for, let me think, how many, 30, 40, what year is this?
2023.
3, Grumpy.
So like 41 years. So a long time. So, you have your good years, your bad years, whatever. But you know what? It's not like it was when you first started dating. It's just,
of course.
Not. So,
of course.
Like I said, that's why Barry Trott's very appealing right now. If I could live my whole life in the honeymoon phase, forget about it. I'd live to be 300 years old. Okay. Next comment.
Rick Roma, Grumpy.
Pajot is barely a 40-point player, and he makes $5 million for 3 years. Preds could make better use of their cap space. Well, if they need to get to the cap floor, and again,
he's a culture piece.
That's right, a culture piece.
Because hey, baby, let's cash in on that culture cachet that Jean-Gabriel Pajot has. Ching.
And I don't feel he's the same player he was 3 years ago. I just don't.
No.
And I love JG Pajot. Just doesn't seem like he's the same player he was. You move on from a guy like that. I'd much rather, I believe in the Branch Rickey style, get rid of a guy a year too early than a year too late.
But let's be hypothetical here. Let's say you get rid of Pajot, which I don't think they're doing. But let's say you do. Who replaces him?
Who cares?
But that matters though, because they have no shutdown center, none. It's not Casey, it's not Brock for sure. It ain't Horvat or Barzell. So who's the shutdown centerman? Who are you bringing in to replace him? I'm not opposed to moving anybody if you have the proper replacement. But who replaces him? It ain't Bardreau.
It's going to have
No.
to be outside. It's going to have to be outside the organization. And here's
Why
the
not,
thing too.
Why not Casey? Why not Casey?
Because he's not as good of a skater. He gets hurt all the time.
Pajot has been hurt the last couple of years too.
Yeah, but Casey's hurt Casey's hurt literally like every year though.
Yeah, I know. But I mean, Casey could fill that role. I like Casey. Did I think we needed to sign to a 6-year extension at his age 30 season? No, that was dumb. But you know what?
No.
That's what you should be paying your third line center anyway, is $2 million a year, not $5 million.
Your second line center also should be a guy who's like, I'm fighting to get into the league. I'm fighting tooth and nail at every opportunity. I'm a guy. If you ideally were not trading away first round pick after first round pick after first round pick and any single prospect that had any sort of potential, you have guys you can give opportunities to. And you could say, we're going to give a guy like Atu Ratu a chance to run with it. Let's see what you can do, Atu. You could do things like that, but
I personally think Ratu has a long way to go still. I'd say he probably won't be a recurring NHL player until probably 24 or 25 because he still needs time. And there's nothing wrong with that. The dude was picked 50th overall. There's nothing wrong with that. But but again, you waiting till 2025 and you're just going to waste more prime years of Barzal at that point. Like I have no issue. Like I said, I have no issue moving anything depending on what comes back the other way. It all depends. Like again, I know Grump is not going to want me to bring up this trade because I remember my lesson last time, but you gave up a first rounder to bring in a 22-year-old defenseman. On surface, it looks bad giving up that pick, but you got younger. You got younger on the back end. I would rather do that than sign a 31-year-old Nick Leddy. I'd rather do that than sign Edler or Cole or Mata. It all depends on what comes back the other way in the trade. For example, I'm going to be completely hypothetical here, but let's say I'm moving next year's first-round pick. And let's say, for example, Grump. Let's say, you know what? Minnesota, you know what? I know you have Kalen Addison in the doghouse. He's 22 years old. Why don't I give you a first-round pick and get a 22-year-old right-handed defenseman back? It depends. You're getting younger still. If you're trading that first rounder for aged vets, then yes, I have a complete issue with that. If you're getting
that first rounder for a guy who is not the answer, it doesn't matter if he's younger, older, it's still a moot point.
It's
not the answer.
You can't continue to trade first and second round picks. You have nothing in your farm system. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Nothing in the farm system. And if you keep on moving picks, you'll continue to have nothing, even less than nothing. I don't know what that is. Negative prospects. Maybe they're going to call it the grumpy old man, throw him on skates because we're so desperate to put somebody out there on the ice. But the whole thing is you need draft picks. They're the lifeblood of the team. Okay, you got Alexander Romanov. Great. Did he make us markedly better this year? No.
I think okay.
No, he didn't.
The first half of the season, no, he was massively inconsistent, and I've been on record saying that. Absolutely.
Now,
But again, sorry to cut you off, Grump. When they finally changed the system and paired him with Pollock, complete 180 in his game. Maybe one bad giveaway against the Kings and the Penguins during that last regular season stretch, but otherwise he was very consistent. Very consistent.
And he gets another year from me because I've been very consistent. He gets another year. I didn't think he was good last year. I think he was with Pulak. That's part of the reason Dobson doesn't look good, was they keep on pairing him with guys who either can't play anymore who aren't defensively responsible. You need to pair Dobson with Pelech, period.
They tried that.
In a sense, end of story.
But they tried that, though. They tried that during
when he played well. That's when he played his best.
Yeah, but then Adam Pelech didn't play well.
Well,
That's the problem.
You know, maybe because Adam Pelech isn't what he used to be either.
But
Adam
he looked,
Pelech had to
but
be
he looked good with Pollock during the playoffs.
Well,
So like,
okay,
what are we doing though? You know,
well,
like
you know what? It doesn't matter if you want to get the best out of your players. Pelech was hurt last year too. All right.
Yeah.
So here's the thing: you start the season with Dobson and Pelech. You need a puck mover on every single defensive pairing. You need a guy who can get the puck out of the zone. Pulock and Pelech don't do that. That's why we're pinning our zone all the time.
They're supposed to be, well, they're your top pair armor essentially. They're basically the equivalent of Middleton and Spurgeon. That's their role. It's the other pairings who are supposed to be the puck movers. That's their job.
You got to, well, if they're in their zone the whole time, you need somebody who can move the puck on every single pairing. You need somebody who can move the puck.
But when they changed the system, and whenever Pelech and Pollock paired together, they were great in keeping the puck in the offensive zone and limiting your opposing scoring chances. Oh, thank you, Matt. I appreciate that.
They were,
but
to me, they were not great in the playoffs when Pelech and Pulock were together. I thought Pulock played well. I thought Pelech was terrible.
Pelech, I think he was very good in games 2, 3, and 5.
Well,
I think he was good.
So he's good 50% of the time. It's not good enough.
Well, again, but again, though, it also depends on one, who you're double shifting him with, because he didn't always play with Pollock during the playoffs. Though he took shifts occasionally with Mayfield because they didn't want to expose Sebastian Aho and especially Bolduc in the first 2 games. I mean, what did Bolduc have, like 12 minutes or whatever in game 2? Like, he was completely sheltered. So they had to double shift Pelech. So his role then got compromised because of that.
I think that Pelech struggled in this year's postseason. I think Pulock, who struggled a lot during the regular season, had a really good postseason. I think Pelech struggled all year. He struggled in the regular season, struggled in the postseason. I just think Pelech had a poor year. There's nothing wrong with that. Could he bounce back? Sure.
I think Adam Pelech had a poor first half of the season before he got concussed. And then when they changed the system back to defensive structure, that matched Adam Pelech's strength, and he was able to flourish in that regard. But when you're playing against a speedy team, you have to make sure you can shift defensemen who are stay-at-home defensemen like Pelech and Pollock properly, otherwise they'll get exposed. And Carolina's a fast team. So if you don't manage their ice time properly, they will get exposed.
And then they were on the ice for the majority of the big goals that got scored.
Yep. Pelech looked completely lost, not marking men down low.
I'd much rather, like I said, if it was me, Dobson and Pelech, period. Then Pulock and Romanov, and then whoever on the third pairing. That's if it's me. I want my best defenseman playing the most amount of ice time. I want Noah Dobson has room for growth. I think we can all agree on that.
Yes.
You're not going to see any growth from Pelech or Pulock. They are what they are at this stage. Romanov can grow. Is he ever going to be an offensive juggernaut out there? No.
He doesn't need to be.
But one thing is he's not going to be. I think, is he going to get appreciably better? I don't know. I mean,
I think so.
But just his style of play tells me how much upside does he really have? Because I mean, I think if he played more positionally sound, he can be one of those lockdown defender types. But you're never going to see him where he needs to develop his offensive game. I just don't think that's where it's at.
You know what the thing is, though, Grump? Again, this is going to be a very hot take. I'm more optimistic about Romanov than Dobson, and I was a huge fan of Dobson making the team back in 1920, like the 2019. No, it is a hot take, but it is a hot take, and it's a take that I guarantee 90% of the Islanders fan base isn't going to like. But
I think a lot of the fan base has turned on guys like Dobson because of certain online figures that are causing a negative effect on.
Oh, jeez. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong.
That are maniacs to the Islanders community, and that they have turned them on the fantastic Noah Dobson.
I will give Dobson the edge on Romanov in terms of overall points. Romanov's a better skater than Dobson. It's probably he and Aho who are in the good category of skating, though Aho falls on his ass all the time. The above average skaters, you get Pollock and Dobson. Average, you get Pellick. Below average, Mayfield. That's the skating from good to below average for
Wait,
the
where do you have
defenseman.
Dobson in that group?
Above average.
Yeah, he is above. I think Dobson is above average.
I think Dobson's above average, and I think Romanov and to a lesser degree Aho are the good skaters. But like I said, Aho falls on his tail a lot. But I don't see the speed element. I don't see like the smooth skating element that Dobson brings versus Romanov 5v5. I genuinely don't see it. I don't see it. And I see at least a defenseman 5v5. And Romanov has had his fluctuation of partners too. So let's not act like Dobson was the only. Romanov's, he's occasionally paired with Mayfield. He's paired with Pollock. He's paired with Dobson. He paired with Aho for a couple games because of the Pellick injury. So he's had his fluctuation of partners too.
He's had
better partners every single opportunity as well.
You know what the funny thing is though, TJ, and I said this to you 5 weeks ago. Dobson's best defensive partner was Sebastian Aho, because Sebastian Aho played much better defensively this year than the last 2 years. Aho essentially has become Thomas Hickey. It's identical. It's identical. The way Aho plays defense versus Hickey did before he got his concussion against, I believe, the Avalanche, if I'm not mistaken, in 2018, that they're essentially the same player. They really are.
I think the one thing I think is that Aho sees the ice better than Hickey did. But I agree with you. To me, Aho is a number 7 defenseman.
Yes.
He's number 7, which is always the way I viewed Hickey, number 7 defenseman.
Yeah.
Yep. Break glass in case of emergency. But I mean, like I said, for me, Dobson, Pellick, Pulak, Romanov, and then whoever on the bottom pairing. I mean, they need to change something up. You're not getting what you should out of Noah Dobson for whatever the reason is. If you put him on a team, here's my prediction. If he gets moved to a team who plays a modern NHL style, he's going to take off with a rocket on his back.
Offensively, yes, but I just don't have faith in him adapting defensively though. Like
that's why he needs to be paired. That's why he needs to be paired with somebody who's a rock solid defensive player.
But at some point though, you have to pick up the slack on your own end though. You have to.
He's a modern NHL defenseman. Do you ever see them out there? They're all freaking same. They're all the same.
Cale McCarr, Adam Fox are around the same age as Dobson.
I don't think either one of them are great defensively.
I agree.
What? Adam Fox brings offense and is one of the best defensemen in the league.
I do not think. I think
he is a top pair defenseman and he plays great defense.
I don't think he plays great defense. I think his offense overshadows what he does defensively.
Sure.
And I think the same thing with McCarr.
He plays great defense too. I know Taze plays better defense than McCarr, but McCarr does play great defense too.
Think about what you just said. Taves plays better defense than McCarr. Why was Taves run out of here? He didn't play good enough defense. And I don't think McCarr's a great defensive defenseman, but he's so good offensively. You don't see them in their zone all the time. You don't. You see they get the puck out of the zone because they're puck movers. If you're not spending time in your defensive zone, here's the thing. When it's down low, he's not moving anybody out in front of the net.
No.
It's just not what they do. Their system is different. If your system is predicated on laying back, absorbing pressure, and hoping to get a counterattack, your defensemen have to be better. If your system is predicated on quick movement out of the defensive zone, well, guess what? If you're not spending your whole night in the defensive zone, you're not going to look as bad defensively.
You're going to be applying pressure. You're going to be. It's different. It's easier to play on the front foot than it is hemmed in your own zone because you said we're going to play turtle style hockey again.
But again, Colorado does play most of the time. They do play that playoff style hockey as well. They just have faster skaters though. It looks like run and gun, but they don't play the left wing lock that Trotz constantly coached in Nashville, Washington, and the Islanders. But they do play that lockdown style of defense. They just have faster skaters to jump in on the forecheck though. The Islanders don't have that though.
How often do you see Colorado hemmed in their own zone?
Very few.
He
never faces any consistent pressure, unlike us.
All I'm going to say is if he goes to a team, if you moved him to Colorado, he'd be a
He'll-
75 point a year player.
and he'll still be a -20
He's
No.
never even been a -20 on this team.
because they have great goaltending. Colorado doesn't have great goaltending.
Colorado consistently has more goals scored, has a better goal differential than us year after year when healthy. So the likelihood of him having a negative plus minus is so.
Well, okay, but where are they going to pair Dobson? They're not going to pair him with Taves. They're not breaking up Taves
You know,
and
you know
McCarr.
what this is like? This is like the conversation we had with people who said, "Oh no, Taves had a bad playoff series. You need to get rid of Taves."
Move him.
Taves should-
No, TJ.
Not
that's-
you, not you, not
I'm
you.
just saying it's the same mindset. It's the mindset that the issues with.
You will be surprised how many people said that. You'd be
TJ,
surprised.
TJ, you and I discussed when that Taves trade happened, and we discussed whether or not the Martin contract made a difference. I don't agree with that, though. The reason why that Taves trade happened was two reasons. One, flat cap. No freaking GM in the league saw it coming. There was a bunch of other weird moves happening. And two, Andrew Ladd's contract. It was only money that led to that trade. You had to gain assets to move away Ladd's contract the following year because you absolutely could not move it during 2021. Absolutely not.
They could have moved Letty.
How?
Yep.
How are you going to move Letty? You would have to give up more assets to move Letty at the time than what the Rangers gave up to move Girardi.
Letty still had value. Letty was
still
traded.
had value.
Yeah, but
value.
Detroit didn't want. Detroit did not want to compete at the time, though. Letty was owed $6.5 and $7 million in actual money. That's what mattered.
You could have found. You could have found outside. You could have found outside of Detroit another.
Who?
You're asking me to remember what the cap situation was in 2019. I'm not going to remember it.
Nate Schmidt got moved. Objectively, a better defenseman than Taves at the time. He got moved for a third and a fifth. Hoffman signed a PTO. Hall signed for only one freaking year. There was a bunch of cap casualties. The St. Louis Blues ended up losing out on Pietrangelo because of the flat caps, because their end game was to keep Falk and Pietrangelo, and they lost Pietrangelo, and he signed with the Golden Knights.
So you would have been able to keep a guy like Letty if you traded for him, a top four defenseman who's making what, 5 million, 5.5.
Okay, Letty blows defensively. TJ, he sucks.
He was
traded.
traded, and after a poor year in Detroit, they got more for him when they traded him again at the deadline.
You act like Stevie Y is a smart GM too. He's not smart.
Absolutely is.
Oh, watch that! Now you pushed the
button. No, he's not.
I was going to let him tread on the no doffs. I'm like, I feel like argue everybody on this one.
How's that Ben Sherratt deal working out for them, huh?
You want to know what? Detroit is in the right direction. We're not.
No, they're not. They've rebuilt on the rebuild. They stink.
Okay, here's the thing. You forget the year that they made that trade, Barry Trotz came out and said that with the exception of Semyon Varlamov, Nick Letty was the best player on this team by a country mile.
Yep, and I remember that.
That's what he said. And that offseason, that's the guy you move. His value was never going to be higher, and instead you decided to move the 24-year-old for two second-round picks, and he makes less money than Letty had. You should have moved Letty. That's how you transition away from the old to the new. But they've never done that.
Okay, I agree that they should have moved Letty. Where none of us are disagreeing on that.
But I'm saying that's something for him coming off that playoff series.
At that time, though, all that mattered was money, because to this day, the players are still owing the owners money. That's why the cap isn't increasing that much next year. And who knows if we're going to get another freaking lockout in 2 years.
That's a scam, by the way. That's a scam.
No, but
the players are dumb. They have the worst leadership.
Yeah, they're cowards.
Organization. They're just dumb.
The NHLPA are a bunch of cowards. I agree with that. But given that whole scenario, players wanted to play.
You don't think you could have got a third-round pick for Nick Letty?
At that time, no.
At
that time, because there was no financial certainty for the league. Fans weren't even allowed in attendance at the time. The only way they were making their money was from their TV revenue. And those ESPN deals and TNT deals were not announced yet. There was no financial certainty. The following year, there was a sense of financial certainty. Fans were starting to come back into the arenas gradually. The Islanders were at 95% by the time they were against Tampa. There was Detroit was in a somewhat better place because they had that abysmal 1920 season. They were a little bit better competitive in the revamped Central Division at the time. They wanted to make a tiny little splash at that point in time. That's when it was appropriate to get a small asset back for Letty. But the year prior, Detroit was in no position to compete at the time. They could have added Stahl.
I just think you could have, if you want. I don't think it was even an option for the organization. Let me just put it to you that way.
I don't even think it was
considered.
I don't even think it was considered.
It wasn't even considered because you know what? We don't give a shit about the younger guys. We only care about the veterans on this team. That's the way that's the way it was. And I didn't know if it was Trotz or if
it was just money. It had nothing to do with Barry Trotz. It was all money.
But somebody in the organization says, okay, when we go through and who can we keep, because they had to re-sign Taves back. It was re-sign Taves as a restricted free agent or move him, because that's why if you move Letty, you could sign Taves. But they chose
again. I agree. If in a perfect world, if the cap didn't even go flat, they would have been able to keep Letty and Taves. That's number one, because the cap was supposed to go up by $4 million that year. So with that, they would have had the money to keep Taves at the time. Even before Boychuk went on LTIR, they still were cap crunch regardless. So again, I looked around. I didn't see a single team at that time who would say, hey, you know what? We're going to be positionally competitive next year. Let's add Nick Letty to our team, regardless of the financial uncertainty with the league. I genuinely did not see it.
But they still, free agents still got their money in the offseason.
Not much. Not much.
Maybe not for term, maybe not term.
But that matters, though. Hall signed for 1 year in Buffalo, $8 million, and then gets $6 million for 4 years in his next deal in Boston. Hoffman signed a PTO. Again, if the salary cap, let's say, if the salary cap wasn't flat, you don't think that Vegas could have gotten more than a third and a fifth for Nate Schmidt?
Nate Schmidt. I always thought Nate Schmidt was making a shitload of money too back then.
5 and change, but he's still a miles better defenseman than Nick Letty. I love Nate Schmidt's game. I wish.
Does
he
even play in the league anymore?
Yeah, he plays for Winnipeg.
Yeah. Okay. Winnipeg. Thank you.
Yeah. He plays. But Barry and I felt bad for Schmidt when he wasn't being used properly under Trotz when he coached the Capitals.
Yeah.
But
like I said, for me, if they wanted to, they could have moved. They could have moved Letty. You might have had to be creative, but you could have done it. But they took that other route because I don't think it was even a consideration to move Letty. That's my concern.
I still think you would have had to attach a pick to move Letty at that time.
But
okay. Now, here's the second problem that you're facing. How are you moving away Ladd's contract the following year? Because you don't have the assets from the Taves trade. Well, you have to get rid of Ladd.
Maybe you don't have to trade a first and a fourth for Palmieri and Travis Zajac. Maybe you don't have to do that. It's because that's what happens when you're trading your picks all the time. You don't have any flexibility to make any moves. And that's the frustrating part for me. You can't.
But they moved Ladd for 2 seconds and a conditional third, though. The following year.
I don't think it was 2 seconds.
Yeah, they moved 2 seconds to the Coyotes and then a conditional third if Ladd didn't play a single game this season. And that condition was honored. The irony. That was the trade.
But that's another guy. Why are you even playing him? You could have left him on long-term injury till his deal ran out.
He didn't want to go on LTIR. That was the problem.
But he was on long-term injury.
This year, not last year.
He was 2-3 years ago he was, and then they took him off. Yeah, he was.
No, he wasn't. He was waived. He was waived. He was sent down to Bridgeport. The Islanders waived him, and they ate a cap penalty of $4 million and change.
I'll have to check on that. I could have swore he was long-term injured after that knee injury when he had the knee.
After the knee injury, yes, though. But the following season, though, when he was healthy,
they should have just left him on long-term injury till his contract ran out.
He wanted to play.
Don't give a shit what he wanted to do. He's under control of your team. If you got to pay him, you got to pay him. But that doesn't mean he has to play on your team. That was dumb management. Poor asset management.
That was a dumb contract, though, too.
That's not on Lamoriello. But Lamoriello's done that before with Robidas in Toronto. He did the same freaking thing. He just threw him on long-term injury, and that was the end of him. He could have done the same thing with Ladd.
That was with David. That was with David Clarkson, right?
Robidas was the guy.
Oh, Robidas. Oh no, I thought they LTIR'd though David Clarkson though originally, and then they moved his rights to Vegas, and then Dubas took him back the following year. I thought that was the case. No, but like, I mean, it's also up to Ladd though if he wants to go on LTIR though as well. It has to come to a mutual agreement.
He was already on LTIR. He was already on it. They didn't have to take him off.
Lou tried to move Ladd though originally. Remember that whole Parise Ladd swap thing that was discussed during 1920. Lou tried to move.
Thank God that didn't happen.
In hindsight, sure, but you could clearly see that. Yeah, Lou sees this as a very expendable cap casualty here.
Well, then you just leave him on long-term injury. As far as I'm concerned, you're on LTIR till your contract expires. You do not exist to our franchise. Period.
I agree, and again, Grob, I am not disagreeing with anything that you're saying regarding Ladd. I'm saying Ladd would have fought.
And I don't have to worry about the second-round draft picks either. See,
Ladd would.
It's how
Ladd would have filed a grievance though, he would have gotten that coward NHLPA behind his back, and they would have ended up having to take him off of LTIR to avoid a lawsuit.
You never know. You never know because they didn't push it.
That's
what I would have done. Prove it. His knee injury, his knee was still bad even when he came back.
Yeah. The dude had 2 metal knees. He was horrible. He was horrible.
What? You don't pass our physical, you're not coming back.
You put on the onus of the doctor. Hey, buddy, they're not going to pass the team physical. You understand?
There you go.
I mean that could
shit happens. Believe me.
I know that could lead to another lawsuit, but I am not disagreeing though. I am not disagreeing with the objective of what to do with Ladd at the time. I'm saying Ladd would not have consented to that though.
I don't care. It doesn't matter. He was already on long-term injury. The fact that they let him off was the mistake. They never should have let him off.
He wanted to come off
for a week, and then I don't care if he wanted to come off. I don't care what you
want. No.
Dude, you're getting paid. You're getting paid. Just sit there and be happy because you know what? Just consider your retirement starting now, but you get yourself a nice $5.5 million a year.
He was on LTIR during 1819 and for a smidge of 1920, and he played in nowhere else but Bridgeport after that. Nowhere else but Bridgeport.
Long-term injury. He never should have come off long-term injury.
He shouldn't have. He should.
The knee was still bad.
Both of them were. The dude had 2 metal knees. But
that's what I mean. Believe me, it's nothing for a doctor to say, nope, don't pass team physical. They don't know how to manage. They mismanage shit all the time. That's the frustrating part. Because then I don't need to trade 2 second-round picks and a third for Ladd. I don't need to. I don't need to. Because they shot themselves in the foot with the Ladd thing.
So let me ask you, are you going to channel that same energy towards Bill Guerin for trading away Kevin Fiala and getting a prospect and a first rounder, despite him putting up 85 points in the top 6 last year?
Okay, so why did he move Fiala, though? Why did he move Fiala? Because he had the balls to say, Suter and Parise, with your ridiculous cap hits, you're not contributing anymore. Bye-bye, you're gone.
Yeah, the whole point of the buyout was to get 1 more year out of Fiala. But if those contracts were not sold,
but he got a first-round draft pick out of it.
Okay, for a guy who put up 85 freaking points, you could have gotten a little. Okay, I'm not disputing that Brock Faber could be big time down the road because I like Brock Faber. He's a very good defensive prospect. He actually played in their top 4 during the playoffs against Dallas. But 25 years old, 85 points. Really, you couldn't have gotten just a teeny bit more than that.
But he was going to be a UFA, was he not?
No, RFA.
Okay. Guess what? We can't afford to sign him. He's a pissant anyway. So no problem. You know what? We'll make the best of a bad situation. They're still eating cap money from Suter and Parise. Still to this
because
day.
Of Fletcher, yeah.
There you go. But you know what? Guerin, I love what Guerin's done in Minnesota. Are they a fun team to watch? They are not.
I don't like the Fiala trade. I don't.
Brock Faber, at the age of 20 years old, just to give a recap, played all of their postseason games after just finishing the college season. So I don't know, being thrust into the lineup, playing NHL playoff time. You know, he played 2 regular season games and 6 in the postseason. Again, he wasn't utilized in like the main portion of their play, but he's somebody that's gonna be, you know, he's gonna be valuable to the team in some capacity. You feel like at the age of 20, if you're already breaking into the NHL lineup.
But they clearly missed that scoring depth, though. They didn't replace that, though. They didn't
That
replace
style is-
85.
They play the same exact sluggish, boring style of hockey we do.
They got Kaprizov. That's it.
That's
their
it.
offense.
Yep. And he's better than any one scorer on our team.
Well,
Yeah, I'll go with that. He is. He is.
that's still a lot, though.
Oh, come
That's
on.
that.
Yeah,
That's a
he's-
lot of points gone.
Yeah, but you know what? They also got out underneath 2 contracts that were just going to be albatross around their neck. They couldn't make any moves unless they got rid of that. Going forward.
So why isn't that same energy directed towards Snow for the lad contract?
I think it was a terrible contract. That was a reactionary signing because they lost Okposo and Nielsen the same day. Like, holy shit, what are we going to do?
Yeah. No, but the way the contract was even before. Okay, let's not even count him getting hurt. Okay, you can't bank on injuries. You can't be a prophet and predict that crap. The way that contract was structured was idiotic. Buyout proof, full no move his first 3 years. Like there was no way to get out of that at all.
That's the only way anyone goes to the Islanders is if you give them a no trade or a no move clause. I didn't say it was a good deal. It was a reactionary deal because all the guys they thought maybe we can get Nielsen.
And he had a tie with Doug Wade. I know.
But
back in the Carolina days.
I remember the day that was done. Like, man, that was a really dumb signing. You can tell what dumb signings are. You don't need to be a rocket science. That was a dumb signing. Just like Anders Lee, dumb signing.
Sure.
All these guys, Kyle Palmieri, dumb signing.
That I don't agree with. I think Palmieri's shortcomings on the power play are more to do with coaching, though, because they don't use him properly. And TJ,
how many years has he been with the Islanders now?
3 or 2.5.
2.5. How's he produced?
Well, this year he produced more than half a point per game. 5-on-5. But again, if you used him properly on the power play, though, he would have better overall points.
He's at best, half a point a game guy. That's not
5-on-5. 5-on-5, though.
I'm talking period. You look at his games. I don't care about it. All I know is he's not worth the money.
Sure.
He was the one guy I didn't want at that trade deadline. I'm like, I'll take it. The only one guy I didn't want was Palmieri. Because you know what? He's a good player on a freaking bad team. Guys like that, they're not who you need for a cup run.
Okay. Maybe 1 year too many for Palmieri. But there's no defense or excuse for the Islanders power play to have this my way or the highway scenario when it comes to Palmieri. And TJ, you were on that space with me 5 weeks ago when I discussed with that former Michael Scott guy, that Devils fan from Carolina. I asked him, where did Kyle Palmieri get all of his power play goals?
He was hard to listen to. I'll be honest with you, I kind of tuned out.
Wow.
I'm not talking Devils, so it's like I gotta go.
So this is something that I preach. So I go, where did Palmieri get all of his power play goals? He goes, from the OV spot. The Islanders don't freaking use him there. They don't. No, but did they have puck movers though to facilitate opportunities for Palmieri in that spot? And they never put him there. They put Horvat in the wrong spot. They put Lee in the wrong spot. They put Barzell in the wrong spot. It's like you have all the ingredients for a pizza. You have the dough, you have the cheese, you have the sauce, but then you put the cheese on the dough first before the sauce. No, use your ingredients properly. That's
a grandma's pizza where you put the cheese and then the sauce on top. But
then you're gonna burn the sauce.
That's where Horvat's best spot is also.
No, Horvat's best spot is on the bumper.
It's standing in front of the net. But we've heard of guys who stand in front of the net. Yeah. When you look at, speak to a few of the guys who
we put him on the bumper.
He's a one-timer guy. He's a one-timer guy. That's what he's best at.
Well, no, Horvat. No, Horvat gets a bulk of his power play goals through deflections as well, though. He does.
He gets the majority of his power play goals standing in front of the net. We've got somebody who already does that. Is the unfortunate portion.
Yeah, and that's
together on the same power play unit.
Yeah, and that's another problem.
But how many guys are true puck movers on that power play? One guy.
The way the power play is constructed, yes, one guy.
Not good enough. I mean, here's the thing. Look at how the Islanders power play is so slow. That's the problem. There's no quick puck movement. because
There's
we got
none.
the wrong guy. We don't know. That's not the skill set of the guys who we have on the team. It just isn't.
There's teams though who are worse on paper who have better power plays than the Islanders this year
because their players are more conducive to when you have more
higher skill when they've got.
We just don't have that.
It's like with basketball, right? When you put in isolation, you could go ahead and see the real talent come out of a specific player. But when you play that team game, right, you're not going to see as much isolation. You'll see, hey, it works, it chugs along, we're able to be consistent. But when you isolate individuals and you're going to give them more space, it's, hey, what can I do with the puck? What can I do with the ball? We don't have that high level of skill that some other teams have. We're a team that it's constructed to be defense first, who can catch you sleeping and can make you pay when you make mistakes. Our team is not structured to say, we're going to control the puck in the offensive zone the whole game, and we're going to put on a show, and we're going to entertain, and we're going to go ahead and make sure when we've got a power play, we're going to make crisp and complete passes, really quick succession, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to punish you. That's not how our team is structured.
And that's
how a power play is set up.
Yeah, and to me, that's a coaching problem. There's no excuse for the Islanders' power play to be worse than the Coyotes.
True.
There's no excuse for it. The way everything is set up, it just makes no sense.
But
none.
How many power play coaches have we had over the last 5 years? 3.
And the power play was decent last year. And I get that Jim Hiller has a short, time frame with his organizations. He and Babcock had a falling out. Apparently, he probably had a falling out with the Islanders as well. I probably give Hiller 2 more years, and he'll be out with the Kings as well. But the power play was at a 22% success rate last year. This year,
that put us middle of the road, right?
This year, I would rather the Islanders be middle of the road than being bottom 3.
Yeah,
But
here's the reason why Matt Barzal wasn't there. That's
what. But even during the playoffs, though, he was there, and he only got 1 goal.
But he was at best 60%,
70 maybe best. Yeah.
I mean, he was so obviously still hurt. He had no juice. He wasn't as sharp on his. He was hurt. He's still hurt. I'd love to find out what he actually had. I bet you it was some type of ligament tear of some sort that he just toughed it out. So we're just going to go through it. Hope maybe a level 1 MCL tear or something like that. Who knows? But I mean, he obviously wasn't 100%. But when he left, they were abominable on the power play. I think we gave up more goals than we scored, honestly.
Yeah, and again, that is not absolving the penalty kill either during the playoffs. You gave up 6 goals on 17 opportunities against.
Because Carolina has really good puck movement, and our guys are slow.
Okay, but Carolina, without Svechnikov during their last regular season stretch, finished at a 10% success rate. How do you go from that poor to that dominant on the power play like that?
Because Pellick and Pulak aren't on the penalty kill for the other teams. They got exposed by the speed and the quick passing. They did of Carolina. How many times did they make the pass from below the faceoff dot all the way to the other side for a one-timer on Sorokin? It's like, dude, somebody's got to do something there.
If you want to make a case that Zizekas and Clutterbuck shouldn't be on their first PK unit, you have me there. I don't think they should be there. Their speed does not match other teams' power play schemes.
Carolina in the postseason was still 17.65% on the power play. So, it wasn't as bad as it was to end the regular season.
And they were missing Svechnikov and Pacioretty, which are huge losses.
Sure. And Teravainen. After game 2. Yeah.
But he did come back and play a couple of games against
Florida. Yeah. But there's my opinion, I think, to me, it's scheme. It's completely scheme. Like, if you want to make a case that, okay, the power play doesn't have a personnel, if you will, sure. But there's no excuse giving up 6 power play goals to a Carolina team who had a 10% success rate without Svechnikov. There's no excuse for that.
Yeah. I just thought their passing was good. We didn't.
More crisp.
I agree. I agree that I don't think we have enough team speed to pressure the guys at the point. Not if Zizekas and Clutterbuck are on it. I agree.
They shouldn't have been on it. That was the problem.
Yeah.
Mikey D, I'm sorry.
What if Engvall could play penalty kill?
He should.
I don't know if he can. I'm just saying I wonder if he could, because I mean, a guy who's got a reach like that, and he's got good wheels. I mean, I know he's not a big change of direction guy, which you need to be, but he's got that reach and maybe, you know, a few more deflected pay. I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Oh,
You know,
on a
hindsight being 2020, but
on a side note, happy birthday, Pierre Engvall.
Oh, well,
28
Today is his birthday.
28 today? 28?
27, I think.
27? Okay.
yeah.
He's
Mikey D here.
Still a kid. Mikey D say looks like Patrick Waugh might get the Columbus Blue Jackets head coaching job. Good luck. My Ranger fan friends are playing for him so they don't get maybe praying for him so they don't get Laviolette or Hines. I think Laviolette would actually help them though. Talking about, I guess, the Rangers.
Sure. Yeah, Mikey, that's a rough starting point there for Patrick Waugh. Yeah, I assume he's got to have a really long leash. Cliff Neal said, you need to put TJ on Lombardi time. Grumpy says Cliff. Frank says, hello, fam. Rough day for Uncle Frank. My cousin's husband. Took his own life on Friday. Sorry to hear about that, Frank. Beautiful family, 3 young daughters, made good money, totally happy guy. Makes no sense. Funeral today. Brutal.
He was he was not totally happy.
No.
He was hiding it from you. Something else.
Yikes.
Still condolences, of course.
Yeah.
Scott Levy says, Brad Trevilling, new GM of the Leafs. Will he break up the core 4 by moving one of them? I mean, who's the guy you'd move? It's got to be Nylander, right?
Marner.
No, they're not going to move Marner.
He's got a 10 million cap hit.
Yeah, but he's under. I mean, Nylander's contract expires after next year.
And Marner's got only 2 left.
And Matthews is next year too. So to me, if I'm Toronto and the guy I'm moving, it's Nylander. I'd love to. Here's the thing: if we had any freaking assets, that's a guy I would go after.
Eve L says, any unrestricted free agents on your radar?
Nope. Maybe some veteran defensemen. I think you will see them sign a veteran defenseman.
I personally like Damon Severson. Lou was the GM when he was drafted by New Jersey. No. He's already clean. I love Grump's reaction.
I don't want any more devilitis on this team.
He's very, very good defensively, though. The reason why the Devils can't keep him is because they want to make room for Simon Nemec. And I would take advantage of that cap casualty and sign him if the Islanders can move 1 or 2 vets off their team.
I guess I'd say, why would he want to go to the Islanders? Why not? Why wouldn't a team like Buffalo take a shot at him?
There's no room for him in Buffalo.
They're going to have room on that defensive.
Buffalo has plenty of Buffalo.
Their defense is not good enough to say there's not room on that defensive court.
Most teams don't say we're just going to keep the same exact cast and crew together and think that that's going to magically continue to improve.
They're not the Islanders.
I think if Damon Severson is going to go to anybody, it's going to be to go to a team who will give him at least 22 minutes of ice time per game. And I don't think he'll get that in Buffalo. I think he can get that on the Islanders, but I don't think he'll get that in Buffalo.
You know what I think he's going to do? He's going to go to the guys who offer the most money.
I don't think he gives
That's
a shit.
Right. Here's the thing. This is his one kick at the can for big money, and I don't blame him.
Neither do I.
You're a UFA. This is it for him.
Yep.
And there's going to be teams that have money. Teams are going to open the checkbook and give it to him, and it's not going to be us. We have to trade. Didn't you hear, Brandon? We have to trade for anyone to get them to sign here.
I said that last time I was here.
Well, you know what? I wouldn't trade for anybody.
You have to re-educate them.
Nick D. Grumpy.
TJ Grumpy, Brandon, how you guys doing tonight? 5-star review. Thank you, Nick D. Lou, are you still alive? 5-star review.
Appreciate there, Grump. The arrogance of this a-hole. I don't know who that. I think that was.
Sorry. Could be talking about me. Could be probably talking about TJ.
No, Grumpy. No, it's something Grumpy was doing. 5-star. Tim J says here the Islanders' world silence is not golden. Yeah.
No.
Coach Tommy B said, good evening, TJ Grumpy old man. Hope you both had a wonderful Memorial Day weekend.
Very good. Thank
Coach
you.
Tommy B. Hopefully you did too. And he says Mark Streit is my favorite or my best signing free agent wise for the Islanders.
I'll give you that.
Think about how long ago that was, right? But now he was, he wasn't a big name free agent. He worked out the best,
sure,
but he wasn't a guy who they said, man, he's the top guy on the market. wasn't the
Islanders,
case.
have,
Mark Streit.
Islanders have not had a power play quarterback like him since.
I'm going to say production wise, yes, he's the best one. Good. Thank you, Tommy Baffy. See, I couldn't even remember back that far. It's so long ago.
Satan, Streit, and Molson.
Satan
Yeah.
and Molson were all free agents.
Molson was a great value.
Yeah, Molson was good.
But here's the thing. Molson was a nothing free agent. He was a product of John Tavares.
John Tavares, yeah.
I mean, that's but it's not like say Andrew Ladd was the biggest name that we brought in. These guys, some of these guys worked out. Absolutely forgot about Streit. But it's not like you came in, hey, this guy's going to turn around like somebody signs Patrick Kane is a free agent this offseason, even though he's not the player he was. Man,
He could be a guy Buffalo can use. He's from Buffalo. He's from Buffalo. He's from Buffalo.
Didn't he have those sexual assault charges up there? I don't know. They say you can never go home again. And if you had a couple of sexual assault charges, probably not. I could see him going back to Chicago.
Yeah, to play with Bedard, probably.
Yeah. Boy, that'd be great, wouldn't it?
Really doing his own version of Aaron Rodgers in the Dark Retreat.
Very good.
Frank
says, yes, I'm pissed they didn't say a word. I dropped serious money. The 2 games with great seats, bought extra stuff at Islanders Lab, food, 6 or 8 beers. Holy shit.
Damn, Frank. Holy shit, buddy. Those beers will cost you a big
those are big. Aren't they like the big bottles too?
They get tall boys.
At $18 a pop.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
For more 2 games now. But now nothing. See, and that's the thing. When you don't come out and talk to your fan base, and I'm not saying that Frank's a casual fan, because he's not a casual fan, but he's not someone who goes to a whole bunch of Islander games. We know he's gone with his daughter a couple times this year, but he spent a lot of money and no communication with a fan like that who maybe says, you know what, maybe I'm interested in season tickets. My daughter loved it. I'd like to get 2 pair of season, a couple of season tickets.
But now
it's like, forget it. I watch on TV. Who knows?
What's your Stanley Cup prediction here? Scott says Florida in 6. I'll let you guys go first. Grumpy or Brandon, whichever. I'll go first here. I'm thinking Florida does win. Florida in 5.
Wow.
Yeah.
Florida in 5.
Florida.
I got Vegas in 6. I think this will be Jack Eichel's time to shine. I like the way he's been playing.
I'm going to go Florida in 6 also. Here's the caveat for me. Does Florida have any rust? I mean, the first game is until June 3rd. So I think the rust factor is probably going to affect both teams.
How does it affect Bobrovsky? That's the only thing.
Right. It's all about Bobrovsky. How does he play? Because he covers up a lot of their mistakes. A la Sorokin. Okay. I think they have some.
It's worse. Bobrovsky is giving you 2011 Tim Thomas vibes.
He's been so good. Or the year that Columbus beat Tampa. He was really good in that playoff series. And the whole thing is, what you haven't seen from him recently, his economy of movement. That's where you can always tell when a goalie's in a good place. Just they're always in position. They're not. And Sorokin, I know he's an athletic dive around guy. I got it. But the majority of the goalies, particularly the bigger ones, they're just, man, we're in great position. Vasilevsky, when he doesn't move a whole lot. Everything just seems to hit him because they're just perfect like that.
He's got big equipment too.
If he can be like that going into this series, Florida. Because here's the big thing. Matt Tkachuk is tremendous.
2 game-winning goals in the series by Matt Tkachuk.
Tremendous.
Down now. 2 game-winning goals. Matt Tkachuk here this series.
He is so, and I told you at the beginning of the year, he's what Florida needed, right?
Sure.
We can go back. We can go. You know what? I hate being right all the time. Sometimes I kind of change my opinion, but I just stick with what I say because I'm always right. Always.
Coach Tommy B said, I agree with Brandon. Lou is back, but on some type of transition is being put in place for the future of this team. I just hope I don't know. I think it's just wishful thinking.
He shouldn't be allowed any decision-making powers at all.
B40 says here, dark times ahead, possibly 1995, 99.
Not that bad. Not even close.
I don't think we'll get to that level. People forget how bad we were back then.
Yes.
Now, I could see us being a team that is like, it's hard to say, like a team that's not a playoff team, but like
a fringe
10th,
playoff team.
9th or 10th in the conference every year.
Yeah, not good, but not so bad. Like
Yeah.
barely missing. No. Oh,
Not when Mario Sharkovsky and John Sim were, the leaders of the team. No, it's not going to be that bad.
Well, John Sim was later though. John Sim was like during the Andy Hilbert, Richard Park era.
Okay.
Yeah, but
what's the difference? They're all the same. It's all the same.
No, but I'm sorry, but I hate those times.
Bad. I don't.
No,
think
they won't. They won't.
It won't be that bad. You got too many good players. They're not going to. Here's the issue that we don't have now. We don't have ownership who is going to say, "Hey, these guys make too much money. We want to maintain bottom line. Move these guys." You're not going to see that from these owners. You won't. Now, I want to see a new GM, without a doubt, and I want to see them rebuild through the draft. And if it means the team's not good again till Sorokin, till Barzell is 29 years old, so be it. So be it. But you're going to have that sooner or later anyway. Yep. So I would much rather start it now, so you still get prime time Barzell as opposed to past his peak.
I'm going to make a hot take. The worst trade that the Islanders made was during 1995, and it wasn't a Mike Milbury trade, and I still maintain it. It's the Pierre Turgeon for Kirk Muller trade. It's by far the most insulting trade in Islanders history. Because no. Again, Spezza, big time. Jokinen, Luongo, and Bertuzzi.
That's the big one.
No, but you didn't completely know what you had with those players at that time. You did not have a forecast of those players being all-star caliber players. Turgeon was a 100+ point player in the league, and you moved him for a player who did not want to play for you.
Well, that's true. It was always Luongo. I remember where I was that draft day watching. I was excited, man. I was pumped up. I'm sitting in the. I had a couch, different couch, sitting here right in the same seat, watching 12 o'clock.
There's been a couch before the couch.
Different couch, many different couches. And I remember I'm watching that. I'm like, okay, we got the first pick in the draft, and they're like, this is before the draft. They're like, the Islanders have traded Roberto Luongo and Ole Jokinen for Mark Parrish and Oleg Kavasha. Holy shit. They knew what they had in Luongo. They knew what they had. They knew what they had in Jokinen.
But not as great and elite as Pierre Turgeon, though, at that time. Turgeon was phenomenal. You know that he was.
Yeah, I'm not saying I love Pierre Turgeon, but
the best
was he at that time? I thought it was a bad trade. It was a bad trade. But the Luongo trade set the franchise back. The Pierre Turgeon trade did not.
Okay.
That trade set the franchise back 7-10 years.
That Kirk Muller trade. You know that anxiety that fans my age get when it comes to keeping players and potentially losing players? That started with this trade. That started with this because the first acquisition that you ever got did not want to play for you and showed it on the ice. The best player to wear an Islanders sweater over the past 3 decades, you moved him for a player who did not want to play for you.
I feel bad for all the little kids who are Islander fans growing up as Islander fans now. They're going to have they don't saying, "Holy shit, we just got launched into absolute ineptitude." When Lou continued to double down on this team and continue to buy more and more assets for a team that's past its peak, and we got plunged into the depths of the ocean, and we struggled many years afterwards. They might have the same exact opinion on Lou that you have.
That was a bad trade, but I still think that. I mean, here's the thing. To me,
I don't even think the Luongo trade was the worst Milbury trade for what it's worth.
Oh, I disagree there.
The Trevor Linden trade is much worse.
No,
Trevor Linden. You gave away Bertuzzi, and you gave away McCabe, and you gave up draft capital, which led to the Vancouver acquiring one of the Sedin twins. That's worse.
Well, it doesn't matter because we wouldn't have traded. We wouldn't have picked one of the Sedin twins. Now that was great. Talk about manipulating a draft, man. Brian Burke did a great job that year getting the second and third picks overall.
Yep. Yeah, true, but he's not the one who traded Linden away, though. That was Mike Keenan.
I'm just saying that was a great. It was just a great manipulation to get that pick from Chicago to get second and third. I thought that was great.
And then you got Luongo back from Florida, and then you got Luongo from Florida, from Bertuzzi, and then you moved away Luongo to get Markstrom. That whole thing stems from the Trevor Linden trade tree. It's the worst trade tree in Islanders history.
Oh, all I know is the individual trade is the only one I care about. And that Luongo Jokic trade set us back 10 years. Set us back 10 years.
Even Parish himself said it was a bad trade on NHL Network.
Yeah, it was terrible. It was terrible.
Drew said, Sure.
While Lou has changed his ideology on drafting players, he hasn't changed his ideology on signing guys because they can win faceoffs but can't do jack shit else.
I always laugh when that's a huge priority. Oh, he's a great faceoff guy. This is going to be so important. He's going to help us win faceoffs, and that's going to help us win games. It's like saying our field goal kicker, our special teams unit is going to help us win football.
We need more special teams guys, even though they said you can fair catch anything outside the 25. Okay.
Yeah, that's the type of stuff that just drives me freaking nuts. Got here a comment from Coach Tommy B. Grumpy. I think what is
going on in Rangers land smells a tad dysfunctional. Laviolette seemed to have the job, and now it might be Hines getting hired. I mean, is Hines that great?
No, he's not. He's horrible.
He was with the Devils too. Was he with the Devils?
Yes, he was. He replaced Pete DeBoer.
Devilitis. You don't want to hire a guy from the Devils.
Tommy's saying I'd be on big time with George McPhee.
But here's the thing. George McPhee, if he came in, he's not sitting on the bench waiting for Lou to retire. It's just not going to happen. He doesn't need to.
Yep. And it couldn't happen to a more arrogant organization talking about the Rangers. Ian Malloy said, I don't care what it takes. You have to trade into the first round. Brock for pick number 13 and a prospect straight up. Who says no? Would also love Newhook from Colorado. Maybe for Jean-Gabriel Pageau.
I would not be opposed to moving. And the reason I've said this before numerous times, I'm not opposed to moving Brock Nelson. The deal has to be right. If you can get yourself first round pick, young prospect, maybe a second to throw in, because by the time the Islanders are really, truly good enough where they can make a serious run at the Stanley Cup, he's going to be gone anyway. That's why I don't have a problem moving any of those guys.
If you're moving Nelson, it has to be similar to what the Rangers did to get Zibanejad.
That's fair.
Move Nelson to a team who feels like they need to win now and give up a top NHL-ready center prospect in return. Or a younger prospect who hasn't reached his ceiling yet.
Right.
Similar to that.
And I'm fine with that. Honestly, it expedites the rebuild, retool, whatever. You want guys who are going to be, if you're making moves for players now, they should be guys who are going to be here, 6, 7, 8 years, not guys who are going to be here 2 or 3.
Sure. I agree with that. Got a comment here from Matthew D. Said this season hinges on what Dobson takes or what steps Dobson takes and who his partner is should be a priority. Number 1, Orlov would be a nice ghost as well. Would be a nice get, maybe you meant to say as well.
I just don't see Orlov coming here.
Neither do I.
Why?
I do agree, though, what Dobson does this year. I think also what Wahlstrom does is, that could have the chance for a big reward, but you're going to see, we talked about every year, this is make or break for Beauvillier. I feel like this is one of those make or break type years for Oliver Wahlstrom.
I agree.
It's Garth Snow. That's going to be our new GM. That's going to be our guy who's coming out to the system.
Oh, that'll go well.
You ever notice anyone who's a former Islander GM never gets another job? Never?
Sure.
Only Bill Torrey is the only guy. When Bill Torrey left, he got a job down in Florida. Every other GM, as soon as they leave here, never get another job.
Nope.
I'm going to go out.
We've had some shitty GMs.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that our current GM's probably not going to get another job after this job.
No.
Coach Tom.
He might retire at that point.
Oh yeah, that's what I mean. He'll be too
Who the
old.
hell's going to hire a guy in his mid-80s?
Yeah, seriously.
Nobody.
Coach Tom B says Islanders season ticket reps have regular turnover every year. Okay, so you're dealing with somebody new all the time. And Dubas wants to give wants a break. Give him contract this season. to be a consultant. And then he takes over for Lou next season and gets in the inside track on Austin Matthews.
And then we can also get Connor McDavid in a trade for Josh Bailey and the rights to Anders Lee.
I'm down. Okay, Grumpy, you've sold me, man.
Yeah.
Flex crew. It just saying very sorry there for your loss there. My cousin, who was closest to me, took his own life 2 years ago. Wow, so many people affected by suicide. And people take their own lives. Sorry to hear that too, Flex crew. Yeah. Rich Rosenkrantz says here, Jeff Gorton, the
New York Rangers came out and said, we're going to retool and we'll suck. Fans knew what to expect. We get totally disrespected.
Absolutely, Rich. Absolutely, we do. Where's Ledecky? How can he sit back and watch his revenue producers sit here being pissed?
He's not majority owner. He's just a mouthpiece. Who cares what Ledecky says?
I'll give it a Disney World example. He's the mascots that come out there and you take pictures with.
That's all he is.
And everything like that. And the owner's the CEO of Disney, whoever the hell that is. That's your Malkin characters behind the scenes on everything. Brandon, what would your idea or ideal offseason for the Islanders be? Says Coach Tommy B.
All right. Well, they need a puck mover, obviously. They need better skating on their back end. They haven't had that since 2019, 2021. I would honestly aim for somebody like Severson. I know Grump is not going to like him because he's a devil. He's got devilitis, the whole 9 yards. I remember his reaction towards Andy Green and Zajac and especially Palmieri. I remember it like it was yesterday. It never leaves here.
It probably was yesterday.
But they need a puck mover. Next part of my ideal all season, get a better freaking power play coach. Don't hire somebody who had sexual assault allegations, though. That's step number 2. Don't do that. Yeah, I didn't forget about the Brian Wiseman thing. I didn't forget about that. That's why the organization resorted to freaking McLean. He should be gone as well. And please, if you're going to sign Sorokin, try to avoid going above $7.5 million per. Try to.
That's
because Again, there's only one NHL big-term, big AAV goalie contract that gave you at least half the return on the investment, and that was Luongo. That's it.
Vasilevsky's pretty good. Vasilevsky's deal's been pretty good, too.
No, but I'm saying in terms of the AAV matching the production. But Vasilevsky, no way did his play this year or even last year match a $9.5 million no income tax value. No way. He's great. He's got 2 cups. I'm talking about now, though. I'm talking about living in terms of AAV now. Lundqvist, Rene, Rask, Gibson, Price, Bobrovsky before this postseason. Horrible.
That's why you don't sign players to long-term deals as they get older. You do it early. You get to pay them less. You get them in the prime of their career. And this way, by the time they turn 32, 33, if they're not producing, you just walk away from them.
Well, here's my thing with
be a bug in your damn house. What the hell's going on over there?
Yeah, there's a moth flying around here. Yes, that's all I know for you. But anyway, no. But regarding signing players early, and this is something that I've discussed with a few people. Why would Sorokin have taken that deal?
But you're bringing him just to the year before free agency. You could have, if you would have offered Sorokin $6 million per for 8 years when you signed him, you wouldn't be having this issue now.
I don't think he takes it. And I don't think Lou signs it for that either. Well, I don't think Sorokin would have taken that.
You don't think he would have taken $6 million per?
Nope, because his agent represents Bobrovsky and Vasilevsky. He wants the bag. The Islanders had the cap space to give him the $6+ million after they bombed away Ladd. Sorokin didn't want that.
He never signs anybody to an extension that takes him past free agents. He just doesn't do it. He waits till they get right up to it, or maybe a year before, and then he tries to pick them up. That's a Lou thing.
No, but I'm just saying regarding Sorokin though.
Sorokin hadn't even established himself really. He was still the backup to Varlamov.
But
You could
but
have. I bet you would have taken $6 million for 8 years. I bet you would have taken it.
but one of the main reasons why he came to America in the first place was just because Snow wasn't the GM anymore. He wanted the bag, and he had the agent who got Vazzy and Bobrovsky that money. You don't think Sorokin looks at his agent work and say, "Hey, you know what? I want a piece of that. I may not get it now, but you know what? I'll buy myself some time, and then I'll really get that bag then."
Okay.
So
That's what he wanted.
signed originally a 4x4 contract, right?
It was
No,
4x3.
4
4
so
by
3
3.
years, 4
Okay.
million and change.
Okay. So let's say 3 years, 3 million, whatever, 4 million for 3 years, right? Let's say that. So in essence, if you would have signed to 8 years for 46, what's the AAV based on, the 3 years that I just think he would have taken it because he would have earned that money. Let's say he wanted to get $7 million a year. You're paying him 6, which is an extra 6 million over the 3 years. Take it over the term of the contract, and you're making just as much money in the long run. And you haven't proved yourself yet. See, that's the whole thing. You can give a guy a contract like that before he proves himself. But once he's established himself, you're not going to get him for that now. Now you're going to have to sign him for a lot more. Whereas I don't think he was necessarily, we thought he was good enough for 4 million per, but he hadn't proved that he was a backup.
I think his agent knew that too, though. And his agent probably told Sorokin, again, based off of Dan Milstein's history, hey, you know what? If you play a little bit more, I bet I could get you almost 8 figures.
Okay.
It was a complete money game. I am not.
He's not going to get 8 figures. He's not going to get.
No, I said almost. If he can continue to establish himself like he did for a bulk of this season, for a bulk of last season, and for a bulk of next season, his agent could say, hey, you know what? I'm giving you an overall career numbers that are better than Bobrovsky did prior to his contract. I can get you 8.5 to 9 million. That's the end game for Milstein. That's his end game. He wants to get his client the most long-term money possible for his bag. That's his game.
My whole thing is, if you would have paid him, it almost would have averaged out. Okay, the first 3 years you pay 4, and then the next 5 you're getting paid like 7.5, in essence. By offering
if you gave him a 6-year contract and said, "Hey, we're going to offer you a 6x6, paying you 36 total," right?
He says no.
8. I said 8.
So
I say 8.
I could tell you this for 6, right? In order for him to say no, that means he has to have the expectation that he's making more than $8 million a year for the next 2 years on that next contract in order for that to actually financially pay off for him.
And because of what Vasilevsky and Bobrovsky got, there's absolutely no reason why he wouldn't think that.
Well, but with inflation, those old dollars are worth a lot more than they are today.
That's true.
Sure.
That's also true. So, like, you look at the current value of money. Sure.
But I don't even bet Lamoriello even approached him like that.
No,
we don't know though. Like, because he had the money to do it though. He had the cap.
But he doesn't. He never does it to anyone. He lets everyone get right to the cusp of free agency, and then he overbids for him. That's just the way he's always been. He was like that with the Devils. He thought it was his freaking money coming out of his pocket.
Do you feel that way towards the Barzal contract then?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Do you think Matt Barzal, based on his performance, is worth 9+ a year? Based on his performance so far?
No, he's not. Potential, sure, but performance, no.
But you let him get right up to free agency. You sign him to a 2-year bridge deal as opposed to trying to lock him up. Okay, 3. But here's the thing. You could have signed him for 8. You could have signed him for 8 and given him $8 million a year. You could have done that.
Sure.
But you chose not to.
But why would Barzal take that?
For the security.
But
because he's guaranteed to make that money. Or even 8.5, whatever.
But the contract was backloaded. He was making 7 and 10 million in his last 2 years under his bridge. There's the security.
The only thing that matters to the GM, you can break the money down any way you want. The only thing that matters is the cap hit. That's the only thing that matters.
I'm saying regarding Barzal though.
But I'm saying Barzal too. It doesn't matter the actual dollar amount he got. If he could have, like I said, if you offered him 8 years, 8.5, you don't think he would have taken that as opposed to 3 years, 7? They didn't even have to offer him 3 years at 7. He was an RFA. They could have qualified him. I realize
Yeah,
why they
but
did it.
but if you're Barzell though, okay, you're paying him $9 million per. The objective is that you're going to give him a better offensive supporting cast to play with to justify his AAV though. And you're going to play him essentially with Bo Horvat next year. So you don't think that if Barzell plays with Bo Horvat consistently 5v5, that he could be that 75 to 80 point guy?
No.
Really?
I think he could.
I don't. Here's the thing. I don't. My faith in Bo Horvat's not that high. Sorry.
Okay, but we all know the problem is Anders Lee on that line, though.
I disagree with TJ, but I'm just saying dollars and cents. Barzell would have made more money if he would have taken over the term of the deal. If you would have given him 8 years at whatever 8.5 per.
Well, also at the time Barzell signed that deal, though, that we were on lockdown, there was still no financial certainty coming within the league at the time. And that's why
it's 1.5 per. Here's the thing: if you don't piss away money on all these veterans, the only guys you need to worry about locking up long term are the young guys, not the old guys. And that's what he continually does.
When we play this defensive style, it's not conducive to scoring points. If we played like we did in the first half of the year, absolutely not. Barzell could put up 70, 80 points a year, no doubt. But if we're consistently playing this defense first mindset, because that's the way the team is structured, and it's a never ending cycle where we always are having to be slaves to the system, I'm not sure you could say with a strong degree of confidence he's a guy who puts up 70, 80 points a year. Maybe he's in the 60s, 70s, but 80s is going to be a real stretch.
I mean, the Minnesota Wild played the exact snooze fest style that you dread, TJ. It didn't stop Kaprizov from getting 75 points in 67 games.
Kaprizov's a different player.
Kaprizov's better than Barzell.
Okay, sure. Individually, sure, but if you surround Barzell with a guy like Horvat, though, Barzell can match that because he'll have a better. Okay, Kaprizov is playing with Hartman or Steele as his center, and Zuccarello, who's washed at this point. That's who Kaprizov's playing.
What does it tell you? He doesn't need a star on that team.
Okay, yes, and I agree. I'm not saying Barzell's Kaprizov. I'm saying in order to match the production, though, Barzell could have a skill player. Horvat is objectively better than Zuccarello. He's objectively better than Steele and Ryan Hartman. He is objectively better than those players.
Yeah, I think so.
Yes, and if you surround Barzell with a guy like Horvat, he can match that same equivalent point production that Kaprizov is giving with lesser talent to justify the AAV that he's being given.
Yeah, I'm just talking about if they were smart, they would have locked him up long term as opposed to bringing him up to free agency, which I just think is dumb. He's done it before with Pulak, with Pellick, with who are the other guys they brought? I mean, even Lee and Nelson and Eberle gets him right up to free agency, and then you overpay. Because you want the guy to stay, you overpay, and you're paying on past performances, guys.
Well, Lou only signed Lee to one deal, though. Lou didn't give Lee the 4 years, $3 million change. That was Snow.
No, he gave him the 7 years, $7 million.
No. I'm saying like the year Lee reached free agency, but Lou didn't sign any deals with Lee prior to that.
True.
Yeah, but wait, who were the other people that you were talking about? No, Pollock, I agree with. That was a highly questionable 2-year bridge deal. Like I was scared that he was going to walk to free agency. 2 years, $5.5 million per. His last year is a UFA year. Now, luckily, it worked out in their favor because Pollock had only 2 goals during the 2021 season. So the Islanders were actually able to get him to barely above 6 and change. So luckily, that deal worked in their favor. But no, I agree with you 100% though on the Lee deal. The Lee deal was initially a wild card. It's going to start to look very ugly, though, if they don't do something about it.
Yeah, without that.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
I've been putting stuff up because we're not going to get through any of the comments. I mean, we're 3 hours in, so sorry. We will read over comments unless Grumpy just wants to do some rapid fire. Oh, no, man, we're not even about like a quarter of the way through the comments. But Grumpy, just read a few comments here real quick. We'll pop them out. Do you think Tarasenko's coming to the island?
No.
No. Hope not.
Mikey D said, I agree with you, Brandon. I wonder what the Rangers are waiting for with Laviolette. Their forwards will probably benefit from having a coach like him who is, intense and accountable.
Maybe.
It's baffling that they haven't hired him.
He's a better coach than Gerard Gallant.
And then
The Panoff trade was engineered by Pridham, not Lamoriello.
Lou made the trade. Doesn't matter. He gets the final say. Doesn't matter.
Flex Crew says, Mike, I cannot believe that Phil was dick riding Leo Komarov so hard today. He literally compared him to Philip Denault. He might overdose from the Lou and Trotz Kool-Aid at this point. He is a Lamanite.
He's a menace. He's a menace.
Grumpy, Phil is officially a Lou.
He's a Lamanite. He's one of the Lamanites.
He is a member of the Lamanites, Grumpy.
Lou and the Lamanites.
Oh my God. Yeah. I now tell me a little bit about what was he doing on Twitter? Did you happen to see that, Brandon? I don't. Okay.
Didn't get a chance to see it. It probably happened during the show.
I'm kind of happy I didn't have a chance to see. Oh man. Okay.
Brandon, what do you think of Matthew Maggio?
Okay. Better ceiling than DeFore because he could skate, but DeFore cannot. He's slower than Bellows, and I'm talking about DeFore here. DeFore is a slower skater than Bellows, so that's probably not going to translate to the NHL. Best case scenario, Maggio ends up in the top 6. Worst case scenario, he's a career AHLer. But I liked his adaptation though during his brief stint with Bridgeport when he left the junior cell. But the jury's still out on him.
And that's a good point, JDD. We forgot to mention the offseason signing of Robin Lehner. That's correct.
Yeah.
That first offseason, he was on that 1-year deal.
1-year deal. Okay.
Yep.
Bailey would be Trotz's on-ice coach. He'll pay half his salary.
Oh God. Nick
Where
C.
do I sign?
Why are you guys so hard on Horvat? I don't know. TJ is. And his moving statement. Oh, Everly said that. Yeah, fuck that shit. I'm absolutely not on board.
You're now on board with me.
Sorry. Everly said the same thing in Seattle. Look how they did. It takes time to get comfortable, build routines, they'll report performance. He was bitching and complaining that moving his family was a problem. He had nothing to do with moving his family. His wife did that. And probably his mother-in-law, and maybe his mom. They all moved the family. He didn't need to take time off to move the freaking family. Stop it. They're all kids 3 and under. They're young kids. Stop. They didn't even have to go to schools. They didn't have to do freaking anything. All this guy's got to do is play freaking hockey. It looked like he was good when Matt Barzal was there and then dog shit afterwards. Stop. Don't make an excuse because this guy's soft. I tell you what, you didn't see Dmitry Orlov re-signing with Boston immediately. He says, you know what? I'm going to go to free agency and get my bag. This guy couldn't wait to sign the damn extension.
Whoever's willing to pay the most, I'm going to sign with.
To be fair, though, Boston can't afford him.
Well, they maybe they can if you lose Bergeron and Krejci and a bunch of guys leave. They will not be the same team they were.
They have I believe 10 and change in cap space and only 5 forwards under contract on their NHL roster. They're heading for a world of hurt if by some miracle Bergeron and Krejci don't take discounts.
I'll tell you.
Maybe they don't even play anymore. Maybe they retire.
And then they're screwed.
Yeah, well, they only signed 1-year deals anyway, so they got to re-sign them. Tommy Baffy says, yes, okay, doesn't matter. Yes, Lee can be moved after the 23-24 season, but it's hard to trade to make. No, it's not. Not if you eat half the damn value of the trade, it's not.
No,
you have to be willing to make some freaking moves. You know what? There's nothing wrong with exploring every single option. I don't think the old man explores any options, just none. Kevin Shattenhurst, our Mayfield replacement.
What are you trying to kill me here, Tom? No.
No, he said that because of the picture where they.
I was gonna say, I was like, whoa.
Brian J.
Grecian Formula should be the team's only sponsor. Very good, Brian.
Oh,
good job. Good job.
Ponyboy Curtis says our brilliant comments will be ignored because of TJ's little buddies.
No, we're trying to get through as many of these as we can.
Yeah, let's try to go through all of them. Let's make history here.
Do we need to do a welfare check on Lou Lamoriello? Could be.
He is 80 after all.
Oh my God, 81 coming up too. Oh
Nick
man.
C, let's see if this comment's better than your last one. It's ridiculous that neither Lou or Lane have come out to speak. Okay, he's back on the board now. To come out to speak to the media. That being said, if Lou doesn't return, I'll give the team a pass. If Lou doesn't return, yeah, me too. If they clip the GM, I'm absolutely all on board to see what we're going to do. And it's going to take a little while, But you got to think somebody else. When they bring a new guy in, it's rebuild time. That's
Sure.
that much I will predict. Christopher C says, Grumpy Brandon, do you think the reason the organization is giving us fans the silent treatment is because they're pissed off at us? No.
You go, Drew
It'd
L.
be like being pissed off at your mother when she's the one who feeds you. And she says, well, you know what? Screw you. I'm not buying any more food. Got to apologize pretty damn quick if you want to eat. Drew says, Brandon, your honest opinion, what direction and plan do you think the Islanders are going to go forward? We already went through that.
Yep.
Durando, better than Holmstrom.
Yes.
Is Peter M.
Yes.
Look, Grumpy Beaky the Buzzard.
Beaky the Buzzard. There's Lou Lamoriello. There he is. Andrew Gross says, Lou will be shaking up the roster this offseason. Beaky the Buzzard, Lou. Nope.
Lou, will you be shaking up the roster this offseason?
Well, yeah, he said, yeah, will you be? Okay. But we got it. No.
Yes, when we trade away the second round pick to move away Bailey's $5 million contract, we will hear from him.
Why?
I don't think it'll cost that much.
You could have done that years ago if you wanted to move him. You wouldn't do it.
Yeah, I'm thinking, oh my God, just continuing to give away draft picks.
We don't need young players.
After draft pick.
Badges? We don't need no stinking badges. Nick C. Oh boy, Nick C. is getting a lot of run today. You guys think Aho has any trade value? No. I think he does in the eyes of a more offensive team. No. For us, he's a liability and think Bolduc can replace his role.
No.
Possibly. Maybe get a third tops or a fourth round pick. No, and more no. No. He has no value. None.
Duchesne was a cancer in the locker room. And both Ottawa and Buffalo have huge holes at goalie and no shutdown defenseman.
100% agree.
I disagree. I disagree with Ottawa because I like Jacob Chikrin's defensive play. Problem is he cannot stay healthy.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Rafi says, I think Orlov goes back to the Capitals. Interesting. Maybe. But I'll tell you what, if he does, that's the way that you work. A guy is a UFA at the end of the year. You trade him for a first round pick, and then he comes back to your team. Oh, heaven forbid. We would try something like that.
Wouldn't it be nice if we could do something like that? Wouldn't it, Grumpy?
For the comfort in that is the New York Islanders.
Nick C says, what are your guys' thoughts
on trying to get Gotcha Spare to replace Mayfield? No. I think Mayfield will be way too expensive. Maybe.
Yes.
He can be a cheaper replacement and maybe and play third pair and give Dobson a bigger role. He's a puck mover. He doesn't play any defense. He worked in Carolina just because of the system that they played. Because him and Chatfield was really good with him. Young guy.
I agreed. Mark Streit, best free agent signing. Yes. John A says he agreed. Pittsburgh's prospect pool is awful. The Capitals and the Bruins and Islanders are worse, though.
I mean, that's like polishing a turd, but it's still a turd. They all suck. I mean, the Bruins pool sucks. The Capitals pool is beyond dreadful. You still don't know what you're getting with Connor McMichael. And the Islanders don't have anybody either.
We don't all suck. I would kill for a Connor McMichael in this organization.
He still needs time, though, in Hershey.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's great.
Yeah.
We don't even have anybody that good.
Got a comment here from Brian Jennings.
My God, I'm so sick of being a fan of the Islanders team that almost zero chance of winning the Cup every October.
Yeah, it's tough.
Brian's in my boat. Probably never going to see another Cup winning team.
Oh, damn. Okay, I guess your days are numbered too, Brian. Josh Bailey is made to be a Nashville Predator. Wouldn't that be great?
That'd be funny.
Michael Emerson, it took him 20 minutes to do that. I like.
I mean, he's got the hat. He'll fit right in.
He will.
The Islanders management is all in the family.
Very true.
And then Rick Roma, Grumpy.
The Islanders would have to add to unload Bailey. He has negative value. You couldn't get a fifth for him.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't say get a fifth. I said fork over a fifth to move him.
He's going to cost more than that, I feel.
Just keep him and bury him in the minors. You get what, $1 million cap relief? Who cares? We're not winning anything next year anyway.
I mean, if at that point that actually may work out in their favor because he may get so disgruntled that he'll actually get his contract terminated, similar to what Leo did.
JP said, "Good evening."
This idea that you can dump your first round picks for other teams' problems is exactly what you don't do. I think that's
Huh?
a shot. I don't know. I don't know. I know it's not a shot on me.
For
because I
other
don't think-
for other teams' problems?
I don't know.
yeah,
I don't get the context of that statement, but
I don't know, but it's a shot against you. I know it. I know it's not against me.
tale of two halves for Romanov. Yes.
Yep.
He was super shitty in the first round, just shitty in the second.
I'll
Rick Roman says
stop.
somehow Grumpa's reaction to trading another first was great. Luke can't keep trading first round picks. Somebody take the landline and the fax machine away from this man, and as well as his carrier pigeon and the pony that he's got in the backyard for the Pony Express. Stop.
JP does not agree. He says Romanov has better upside than Dobson. Completely and utterly delusional. Yeah, you know,
5v5 he does, I think. Special teams he doesn't.
It's gonna it would take Romanov 3 years to score as many points as 1 year of Dobson.
Yeah,
I
but
say 3 lifetimes.
but that's the thing though. When it comes to defensemen, I care more if you could play defense first for a bulk of your time and then put up the points.
I agree, but I don't think he was that great defensively. Here's the thing: you want to know why people like him? He throws the freaking body and he blocks shots. He's always out of position. Always.
I don't even care about the physicality part because Hamonic was one of the most physical defensemen for the Islanders, and he was dreadful.
But he's always out of position.
Early on, he was. But then when they changed the system to suit his style, he wasn't.
We said we're going to need you to skate up and down the ice and actually use your brain and know kind of where to be positionally. And we said, no, I can only do where I do slow transitions and I plop my ass in the defensive zone and we get hemmed there for a while and I could stand in front of. No, Romanov is a fucking waste. He's an absolute waste.
Brandon, did you see TJ's reaction to the drafting?
Yeah, of course I did. I rewatch it every week. I think it's hilarious.
Very good.
The best one is when Grump actually properly explained why the Islanders had to give up the 13th overall pick to make that happen, because the end game for Montreal was to get Kirby Dach. And I go, yeah, that makes sense. The Islanders maybe could have gotten a little bit more back, but Montreal did leverage the fact that the defense market for lefties blew.
You know what they really did? They went to the old man and said, you know what? He's old and stupid and totally cashed mentally. We can absolutely fleece him. Absolutely.
Well, okay, but let's also be fair here. Montreal's defense has gotten worse this year compared to last year.
Okay.
But to be fair though,
sucked the year before too.
But it's even worse. It's even worse.
When people told me he was their best defenseman, you know what that means? Absolutely nothing, because their defense blows. It still does. How come Marty St. Louis, is he still there as coach? I think he is.
He may not be. He may not be there for long if this keeps up, because they have a lot of structural issues they need to fix. They're playing run and gun constantly.
He's a guy
because they're trying to get the best offensively they can out of Cole Caulfield, but it's coming at the expense of the rest of their defense. That's the problem.
Maybe we could bring Marty St. Louis in as power play coach.
Thank you. That would be nice.
And he can, when the team really sucks, he can be out front signing autographs. John A says, how can the Islanders get a power play quarterback puck moving defenseman? Answer is they can't.
Haven't had one since Mark Streit.
And Sebastian Aho is a good defensive partner for no one. He's a number 7 defenseman.
He is. That's what he is.
Fox and McCarr play okay defense.
Yeah, that's what I think. They're okay defensively. They're not great. They're okay.
And Fox has a lot more puck support than Dobson. I agree. John A said Leo Komarov contract, Hickey's contract, and Martin's contract contributed to them not having money.
There you go. That's what happens. That's why when people, well, gosh, it's only this, it's only that. No, because every little $500,000 counts.
Okay, so can we go back to the previous comment for a second? I'm going to poke a few holes into that. Okay, so let's say you don't re-sign Matt Martin. You replace him because you need a full roster to balance out your taxi squad at the time. So let's say you don't re-sign Matt Martin. You bring someone in making $900K. All right, so you have $600K in savings. Hickey, you don't bring him back. Well, actually, the Hickey contract was fine at the time. I actually didn't have an issue with it until he got his concussion. It is what it is. But let's say you re-sign some other left-handed defenseman who plays this role at about like $1 million a quarter. Okay, so you have $1.5 million, $1 million a quarter of net savings. So you add that.
You didn't even need him. You already had Taves, and you didn't give him a freaking spot.
Okay, they didn't. Okay, I know why they didn't give him a spot, because they wanted to make sure that his shoulder wouldn't give in. That's why they gave him that stint in the AHL. Hickey's concussion sped up the process,
It's
though.
the
And
only reason Taves played was that concussion. Otherwise, he never would have played.
I think he would. I think he would have, but I don't think he would have played so soon.
I don't think he would have played it all that
I,
season. If it wasn't
I think he would have played later on. I don't think he would have gotten the call up before Dallas. Leo Komarov, let's say you dish him away, but you have to have a full roster. You replace him with a guy making $1 million a quarter. So $1.75 plus $1.8 million. So that's $3.5 million of net savings. That's still not enough to keep Taves. Taves got 4+.
you get rid of Nick Leddy.
Get rid of Leddy.
But okay, we spoke about why that I don't think that was going to happen.
They weren't smart enough or creative enough to move Nick Leddy. They were never moving him. That's the whole thing. He wasn't even a consideration to move. It was always move the young guy and keep the old guy. That's the way they've been.
Yeah, as about to say, we're talking trade value wise. You know, why wouldn't Colorado want a guy who is by far the second best player on our team in the postseason by a country mile?
Yeah, okay,
only
but
$1 million more when they could have just had Nick Leddy instead of Devon Taves.
That's okay, but that's coach speak. We know Trotz was full of it during those post game interviews. We all know that.
This was after the season was over.
That was after the bubble. I don't put stock into what, and this goes for all sports. I don't put stock into what GMs, coaches, or owners say. I put more into what their actions are. That's just the way I've always been growing up. And like Dave Gettleman, this is a football reference. Oh, we didn't sign Odell Beckham Jr. to trade him. Trades him less than a year later. Action matters most. Patrick Alvine could say, "Oh, Lou didn't call us about JT Miller." Yeah, BS. Elliot Freeman reported it. That's GM speak.
But the whole thing was they wound up moving Leddy a year later.
Because there was more financial certainty because of all the TV deals coming in. And Detroit was having a bounce back season, a more respectable season, and they felt like they could make some noise. And they didn't. So they tried to salvage that by getting a second Sundqvist and Jake Wallman back. Detroit felt like they could compete at that time. That's why they took Leddy then.
Yeah, Detroit went ahead and traded Leddy and pretty much just upgraded.
And they got more than we got.
We'll get
yes,
2 players.
And he was worse. And he was worse with them than he was with us.
And he was worse with the Red Wings, and he's been horrible with the Blues. But again, that's a deadline trade. Trade deadlines in general, with the exception of the 21 season, it's always a seller's market. The seller wins. The seller wins all the time at the deadline. Look at what.
See, but that's my whole point. The old man only makes moves at the trade deadline, so he's always overpaying. He's finished. You know what? I can't even.
No, but I'm saying like regarding the deadline, though, the seller wins. I mean, Montreal got an unprotected first rounder for Ben Sherratt from Florida. I mean, teams overpay at deadlines. It's not just the Islanders. 90% of the league does that. Like the Minnesota Wild once gave up a first, a second, and a third for 20 games of Martin Hansel. It happens.
First, 2 firsts, a second, a fourth, another first. Oh, geez, I'm thinking
7.
Just think about all the guys
you know what's weird? I think the worst trade that Lou made. Again, the Taves trade, I still feel like was out of control. I didn't even care much about the Braden Coburn trade. I just think it was worthless. You're just giving up a pick for a guy who played 1 game.
AJ Piazza, Grumpy.
Wait, so Grumpy Man, what is the point of trading Leddy for a third when Lou got a second, which turned into Ratu, and he took half of Panic's contract, unless you're saying they should have gotten more?
Okay. So now
you already moved Ratu.
The end. Grumpy's end game was not to lose Taves. Right. That's the end game. That's the end game. Now, in hindsight, moving Leddy then enabled the Islanders to get Bo Horvat. In hindsight,
anything we did 3 years ago has nothing to do with this year.
I'm just saying, I like looking at trade trees. I think they're fun.
Holmstrom. You could have put Holmstrom in there as opposed to Ratu. What's the difference? Both of them are so far away, it doesn't even matter.
Declan says, "Did you guys watch the lacrosse championships? Any thoughts? I recommend it. I recommend. Lacrosse is an underrated sport.
Usually, I do watch the lacrosse championships. I believe they're always on Memorial Day, but I did not watch them this year. I think I saw. Well, no, I just saw highlights of the girls lacrosse. So,
And Matt Boldy is a stud.
Yes, he is. He's an absolute stud. Complete Swiss Army knife.
Tavares pushed for the lad deal, and Snow did what Tavares wanted.
I think they were desperate after losing Okposo and Nielsen, and it was a knee-jerk reaction.
We care. We care about you being. We care about you being. You know.
Did that matter?
You know.
No, let's sign a contract extension now. Let's add to your contract now.
I know we just lost Okposo, and but sign your contract extension now, please. Oh man, first year under Hiller, they had 17% on the power play. Second year, 18%. Last year, 22%. Always been between the 15 to 24 ranking. Not exactly great. The talent just isn't there. Yeah,
20, but 20,
between
22%
17
is
and 22.
Good. But last year they were 22%. There was progression bit by bit. And then you just, okay, again, I get Hiller has this falling out, but you got to be smart with your assistant coaching hires because they were on track to getting better in that department. And now they're just fall to the bottom three.
I agree that it's the talent. They don't utilize the talent that they have. The talent isn't a cohesive mix for a power play. We just don't have enough creators on this team, long story short.
Yep.
We have a lot of ham and eggers, crash the net guys, but not a whole bunch of creativity. Just don't.
Once again, a zero notice, the Grumpy Show. Oh, shit. You know what I was about to say? Oh, yeah. We don't have our TJ and the Grumpy Old Man show tomorrow, I don't think, Grumpy.
Oh, just in case you haven't been listening for 3 hours and 20 minutes, TJ will mention that now. Once again, zero notice, the Grumpy Show is on. So just tuning in. I hope everyone is well. Islanders need a Kachuk. Yeah, not too many of them floating around. If the Islanders didn't do a transition, it's inexcusable to not address the fans. I agree with that. Now, if they have a transition in place, if this is what they're doing, no problem. You should still announce it, but it's forgivable. Explosive Diarrhea says, at least just a few. I love that name. At least, and the Linda Blair picture is just
gross.
best. It looks like explosive diarrhea. If it happened all over your face, it's an ugly thought, but look at it and tell me it's not true. I mean, that's some explosive diarrhea, like acid coming out. It's burning lines in somebody's face.
It's from a scary movie. It's a character from a scary movie, bro.
The Exorcist.
Yeah.
A scary movie. Thanks for playing, TJ. At least just a few months away before the NHL season starts. Very true.
Oh, there we go. I'm just going to try to pick a few here, just from names we haven't seen.
Any funny ones?
I've seen a couple.
Which
The
ones
ones
you
that can make fun of TJ, perhaps?
Nah, JP gave a rebuttal about how I feel about Turgeon. So I know. Oh yeah, that. Okay.
This guy has no idea what Turgeon's rep within player circles was. Though Turgeon was vilified by his own players for not jumping into the fight with the Russians in the late 80s.
I know about that. So what? It was one freaking time. Induct his ass into the Hall of Fame already. Come on. I'm sorry. He was my favorite player growing up.
There you go. So he's butthurt. He's butthurt over the Turgeon trade.
He's the best player. He's the best player to wear an Islander sweater in my lifetime.
Oh.
No,
Tavares in my life,
better than Turgeon. Please.
John Tavares is a better player than Pierre Turgeon.
No, he was not. No, he was not.
I love Pierre Turgeon.
Tavares never eclipsed 100 points. No freaking way.
Why don't we have a general manager who could pull off a hockey trade like that?
Now, granted, the trade that got Turgeon, I actually liked because
LaFontaine, it was a great trade.
But the trade afterwards was insulting.
I mean, that was Bill Torrey made that trade. Turgeon, Benoit Hogue, and Uwe Krupp.
And then Maloney screwed it all up 2.5 years later.
Oh, Maloney.
Tavares was not better than Turgeon. No freaking way. This was during the dead puck era that Turgeon got those points.
Yeah, the goalies were stand-up goalies though back then.
But he did this.
It wasn't until Patrick Waugh came in 93 or 92 or 93 that he invented the butterfly style.
Yes, he did.
And that's everyone else was stand up. It's easy to score in the stand up here. It was. It's tougher now, and the goalies are bigger now. It's just more now. It's just more difficult. I think doesn't matter.
He still should be inducted. He still should be inducted. It's a crime.
He was good. He was really good. Freedom Fund Adventure says, however, speaking with the Islanders after the game, Lounge and a few of his buddies jumped in their rental car, sped towards Lounge. Who the hell is Lounge? And sped towards Tampa strip clubs. Everyone knew they partied up.
Luongo.
Oh, Luongo. A few of his buddies jumped in the rental car and sped out towards Tampa strip clubs. Everyone knew they partied it up after refusing to fight. Cloutier.
We got here. And JP Luongo trade sucked. But I understand why. The return was weak. Turgeon was never the same post the Hunter hit. And most of the bad trades were caused by salary cutting moves.
True. Very true.
Dobson, he's had some upper body strength too. Yeah. It's not to turn him into a bruiser, but to keep him on his feet. When I'm in the corners, clear in the crease, and to prevent injuries. Would you trade Pajot or Nelson?
Yes and yes. I'd move everybody off the team if I could. Everyone.
TJ, you're stupid.
Barzell too.
Oh, here's a good one. TJ, you're stupid. I love that. We can move on to the next comment.
Next
Damn.
Barzell, Horvat, Dobson, Sorokin, Wahlstrom, Romanoff are the core of this team. Everyone else should be on the block. I don't even know if Wahlstrom is part of the core or Romanoff. You'd like Romanoff to be part of the core. I don't know yet, but that's pretty fair. You think about when the team's going to be good enough to compete again. I mean, seriously compete. I'm not talking about maybe squeaking in the playoffs. It's guys who are this age group. Horvat, he's actually a little bit old for it, but yes, I think Horvat's going to be fine next year. But Sorokin, absolutely. Dobson, yes. Wahlstrom's got to have to prove it. Frank says, TJ, the Rangers fan, putting up a Rangers text. Oh, shit. That's right, because TJ's a Rangers fan. I forgot.
Romanoff's a poor man's imitation of Darius Kasparaitis. I like that.
Kasparaitis was way better than Romanoff. Way better.
Tretiak was the first to use the butterfly style. Take a look at all the goaltenders Tretiak trained. Okay. We got a homework assignment.
No,
ladies and gentlemen,
he wasn't true butterfly.
We are at 12 a.m. almost Eastern Standard Time. So we're going to wrap things up here today. 3 hours and 30 minutes have flown by. But before we wrap things up, Brandon, what do you want to say before we wrap things up here on today's show?
This was fun. This was absolutely fun. Happy day so far. Happy that I finally got to come back on. It was just a great time. It was just an absolute great time. The Mets won today. That helps. 4-1. Mark Canha with 4 RBIs. So I'll take it. The Giants might potentially get DeAndre Hopkins. So I'm happy about that too.
Everybody's getting DeAndre Hopkins.
I know. Well, apparently SNY is speculating that the Giants have strong interest in DeAndre Hopkins. So we'll see.
Kansas City, Buffalo, New England.
Yep.
Everyone has strong interest in DeAndre Hopkins.
Yep. But
I want to say one thing, Brandon, before I forget. I want your fiance to get you some Turgeon butt cream because obviously you're still butthurt over his movement. And make sure that she gets you the correct cream so that you'll be all nice and soothed from the next time you come on.
There it is, Grumpy. My gosh.
Wait to just put that image in my head.
Grumpy, what do you want to say before we wrap things up?
I want to say love and laughter to everyone who listens and even those who don't. From TJ, the grumpy old man, and Brandon Gaines.
You're about to say Sun X, weren't you?
No.
Yes, you were. You're about to say Sun X. Don't lie.
No.
But thank you.
No love for Sun X.
I did. No. Sun X isn't here today. Screw him.
Thank you so much, Brandon, for coming on. Thank you, Grumpy Old Man. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We will be live with you guys this Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll have another guest on. We're trying to have guests on every show this offseason. So What's that shaking the head for? Because there's so much Islanders news to
We're
talk
going to
about.
run out of guests.
We're gonna have to expand. We're gonna have to expand our Islanders click. Grumpy old man is what it is. But thanks so much, everybody, for tuning in. Thanks so much for watching the show. We'll be live with you guys tomorrow. Probably, I don't know. I got to talk with the lovely Paige. I think maybe tomorrow.
I thought you said we were not doing a show tomorrow.
I don't know. I got to look it up. Be on the lookout. Maybe the TJ and the Grumpy Old Man show is going to be on tomorrow. Maybe it won't. Sorry, I can't give you a definite answer.
Nice way to advertise. Nice way to promote.
Maybe
you'll be on. Maybe you won't. What the hell?
Maybe we'll be on. Maybe we won't. Yeah. But we'll see you guys here tomorrow, probably on the TJ and the Grumpy Old Man show. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you, Grumpy Old Man. Thank you, Brandon. Thanks for all the lovely comments. Hey, it's Wednesday. Hump day. On to Thursday and Friday this week. Hey, in the home stretch, guys. Thanks so much, Brandon. Thank you, Grumpy.
It's actually Thursday now, but thanks for playing.
Oh, well, thank you, Grumpy, anyway.